Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mr. Old Man.
Oh, yeah, woohoo. Woohoo.
37 is Double H's lucky number because it just is. And he met me when he was 37.
Well, I mean,
But that's not, it was already his lucky number. I just
yeah.
happened to fall into the.
I'm not a huge fan of that is true.
Oh,
Ray said your
God.
song was wonderful. I loved it. Made me happy.
Let me tell you what my son Jeff said. He was like, "Oh, I've seen you do worse."
Well, you gotta have somebody who's honest, I guess. I don't know. I
Yeah, I
liked it,
shared it.
so that's what counts.
And that was a cold read, no practicing, and lots of pain meds for the kidney stone. So it was. And as I told my daughter-in-law, it's going to live on the internet forever because I'm trying to teach my granddaughter, don't put stuff out there that you don't want out there forever. So it's out there forever. Lady in Gray has been a member for 3 months.
What? Thank you. Those anniversaries are coming in.
They are.
And
it looks like I bet my granddaughter is Jasper tonight. So, Elizabeth, this is an adult show. You should probably log off.
I'll make sure that I don't say nope. You know what? I'm not going to make those promises. Not going to make the promises.
I already texted her mom.
Do it.
Mom's got it under control.
We have a lot tonight. And it's so funny. You're like burning up, and I am like wearing a long sleeve and socks tonight. So, and well, in pants. I'm wearing pants too. So don't everybody get so excited at once.
It's cool outside. I mean, we actually have a cool front. It was only 78 today, so it was cool. But I have someone that lives in my house. My mother-in-law lives here now, and she gets cold if it's below 76 in the house.
Sure, Jan.
I'm not going to promise that I have pants on, so I'm not even going to lie because I do not have pants on. I have shorts on.
Well, I think maybe we should probably do the warning right off the bat. Do you think? Maybe this episode contains graphic content, maybe adult language, probably, and is not suitable for all listeners always. So there you go. There's your warning.
Can we just put that up that it's a standard? If you come to TCWT Media, just know this is going to happen. Right?
I like that. Wow. Do you like that better? I like that better.
I do. I got my hair highlighted today.
Hey, look at you.
Somebody was not so nice that sent a message on Facebook after Midday Missing on Monday and said I might need to consider getting my roots done.
Wow. Was that Jennifer too?
Nope. I texted the hairstylist and I said, Jen, I think I need to come see you quick. So, yes.
It's I'm noticing that with this like growing out, right? And like I've got a lot of length back here now. But
you got a little floppy tail.
I do tonight. I do. Usually it's like up in but it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot there.
Just wait until it turns gray.
Oh no, that's what I was saying is like now that it's growing out, it's looking a lot grayer.
But I have not met a man that didn't look good with gray hair. I mean, women. I've seen a few women that look beautiful with gray hair, but I've not seen a man that didn't look good with gray hair. So, own it.
I'll take it because this is also right here. I got These are getting grayer and grayer and grayer. I know, I got one patch for each kid, and they showed up right after they were born. So, here we are.
Well, yeah, that might not be 100% appropriate. So yeah, I won't say that.
You are on point,
in gray.
Lady in Gray. It's better that it turns gray than it for turn loose.
Oh, you read it out.
Sorry.
So I know. I'm just
I come from a line of. Sorry, go ahead.
I think we have a lot of delays going on.
Yeah.
I try to read out the comments so that when we upload us as a podcast, people aren't going, what the heck are they talking about? So just letting everybody know who's watching and listening later. We try to read out the comments.
I was going to say something, and then
when you have your next kid, do you think you'll get another patch of gray?
I won't get another kid.
How do you know?
I'm good with 2, thank you. I know how things work.
Things happen.
Yeah, I'm hitting the cusp of that age where for a while I wasn't going to go take care of that, but I'm getting to the point where I think I'm getting old enough where I don't know if I would want another. And it's not just like it's a joint choice, obviously. It's not just me, but yeah.
Oh, I wasn't worried that you were making the decision for her. I wasn't.
No, I would never do that.
But I met somebody a couple weeks ago, and they've been married longer than me and Double H. And they have 3. But they're Double H's age. I mean, we are 50, 60. Guess what? They have a surprise. She's 49.
Whoa.
She's 49.
Wow.
And he's 59.
I'm just saying, like, and I'll leave it at this one statement. When Jamie was born in 2016, I said, if I didn't already have him, I probably wouldn't have a kid at the moment. I would not have another child right now. It's not that people shouldn't. You totally should. This is just me. This is my only thought. It's just
you already
me.
Have 2.
I have 2. I don't need more. I think you totally should. In fact, good God, if there's anything that has proven that we need people to raise good people, it's now.
We do.
But that's where I'll leave that. So if you are having a baby, just make sure that they're good peoples. That's all we can do these days. It's all we have. It's the only control we have at all.
The only thing I'm going to counter that with, like my grandmother told me, because she wanted a baker's dozen, thank God she didn't make it, that if you stop and wait for your finances to be perfect and the world to be perfect, we would have no children. So when you think about that, that's when I say, if you can do it, do it. But just raise them to be good humans. And if they're not good humans, work really hard to make them better.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and that's why you're here, right? You're here to learn all the bad ways to do things so that you don't do them.
Yeah. I mean, would I be upset if I got pregnant? Absolutely not. Do you know how rich we would be? I got no plumbing, so for me to get pregnant, we would
that's
be
impressive.
very wealthy.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I feel like it's Double H that have to be getting pregnant then.
We would be in Hawaii doing our live streams, or maybe Bali.
Hey, yo. Shoot, we'd have a compound. The TCWTC. Should we introduce what we're drinking and then move into the news, or you want to do news and then drinking?
Let's do news first because I need that video.
All right. Well, ask and thou shalt receive it.
Just got an awesome face paint job. What do you think?
I like turtles. Really, sometimes I don't watch I don't watch the news.
Because we see this dude every day. I mean, every day.
I didn't make this kid pass out on my floor. People wanted to be
here. It's just like, dude, you get the best barrels ever, dude. Just
customer out here
What's the best kind of firework to buy?
Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
Where are your parents?
Boy, ain't that the truth? What a question. Wouldn't you like to know, weather boy?
I mean, I I don't know why. It just puts me in the mood to watch that
For
video.
what?
I'm gonna tell on myself that when I was having a bad day last week with the kidney stone and stuff, and I was laying in bed, I pulled out my iPad. I went to one of our shows, and I
Aw.
played that little clip just to make me feel
Aw.
better, and then I got the giggles. And I would just
Oh,
giggled
no.
for like an hour from all the pain meds, but it was so good. So, like, it got me in the mood, got me out of feeling sorry for myself. So, no.
Oh, that's,
What's tea?
well, that's good. Would you like to start? And we'll just
I
alternate as we
will.
go.
Yeah. I'm going to tell y'all right off the bat. My first story is my actual nightmare. Okay. It is my nightmare. Zoo celebrates, yes, you heard me right, celebrates releasing thousands of giant spiders that grow to be the size of a human hand. What in the absolute hell, guys? So, the Chester Zoo in England reports that the fin-wrapped spiders just had the biggest mating season on record. Okay, why are we celebrating this? But it's okay. They released thousands of them.
It's not
And
okay.
that's
It'll
all
never
I can
be
say
okay.
about it. Because no, don't put up the picture. Take the picture down.
I've had the
You
picture
burn
up
a
for
house
like
down for
2
that.
minutes.
You burn a house down for that. The size of a hand. Can you imagine a spider?
No.
And they released them in the wild.
Yep.
Can you imagine going camping and you wake up and that spider's on your face?
Amy can.
Okay, Amy for Justice
She
says,
says, I
I
love
love
spiders.
spiders. Amy, I love you, but not the spiders. I let one spider
I
live
was waiting for
every
you to be
year.
like, Amy, you're fired.
I let one spider live out in our garden every year, one of those big green and yellow banana spiders. We name her Charlotte. The
Yeah.
rest of them, I kill them.
I
That's
mean,
okay. I can live with myself. I'm okay.
I believe you.
I can live with myself. Got to remember, I had a spider bite earlier this year. So, no. And it was down towards the Cookie Netherlands. No. Spiders, no. Mm-mm. Okay, go.
The
Bye.
Cookie
Mm-mm.
Netherlands.
Move on. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Nope. Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh.
I have pictures, but I won't share them.
Yeah, no, not that kind of show. I don't want to go back to training.
You can't see the cookie. Not that kind of girl. What you got for us?
Oh my gosh. I've got. Okay, so the first one's. Yeah. All right. So here we go. 2 former Missouri officers were charged in separate, unconnected cases in federal court this week over allegations that they illegally searched women's phones during traffic stops to obtain intimate, explicit images on the devices. Julian Alcala, 29, who was employed as a police officer with the city of Florissant, is charged with 20 counts of deprivation of rights and a count of destroying records in a federal investigation, the U.S. Attorney for Eastern District of Missouri announced Thursday. This deprivation of rights specifically refers to being free from unreasonable search and seizure. According to the indictment, Alcala would take women's phones during traffic stops to confirm their insurance coverage or vehicle registration, but he searched their phones for nude images and took photos on his own personal phone. You're muted, just in case you wanted to say something.
Okay, that is a violation. I'm just going to say that is like a peeping Tom. That is like somebody peeking in your window.
Well, and he went one step further because in one case, authorities allege Alcala texted himself a video and then deleted evidence of the text from that person's phone. And he is accused of doing that to 20 women from February 6th to May 18th. Now, the police department said in a statement Wednesday that it was completely unaware of the allegations. Alcala had passed a meticulous and thorough background investigation during the hiring process, and the department had not received a complaint about him in the 11 months of his employment. We are disgusted at this behavior, which is a complete betrayal of the values we uphold and in no way reflects the professionalism and integrity of our dedicated officers, the department said. We recognize the gravity of this breach of trust and its impact on our community. He resigned in June after the FBI contacted the police department about an investigation into him, the police department statement said. Civil lawsuits have also been filed. The Jane Doe was pulled over. Hold on. A lawsuit. Okay, so civil lawsuits have been filed against Alcala and the city, including one that echoes an allegation made by federal prosecutors. A lawsuit filed in the same district court last month alleges that Alcala sent himself a private video made by a couple having sex. The Jane Doe was pulled over in February, and Alcala took her phone back to his vehicle when she presented the insurance information she stored on the device, the lawsuit claims. It says she noticed there was a deleted text message from the time of the stop. Alcala sent himself the video and deleted the message in an effort to hide his tracks, the suit said. He is also accused of obtaining a nude photo from her phone in the same stop. So...
You can see deleted text messages on your phone?
Yeah, I mean, there's a deleted folder and stuff.
Like,
sometimes.
okay, I'm gonna check that out.
Okay, so the U.S. Attorney's Office also filed a similar but unconnected case Tuesday against a former Missouri State Highway Patrol trooper. I don't know what you're drinking in Missouri, but whoa. David McKnight, 39, was indicted in the same federal court on 9 counts of deprivation of rights and 1 count of destroying records. They allege he illegally searched the phones of 9 women from September 2023 to August 2024 while he was working for the Highway Patrol. According to the attorney's office, McKnight used his own phone to take pictures of nude images on the women's phones after they gave him the devices to show their insurance or identification information. Most of the women were pulled over for traffic stops. He joined in 2021. He resigned from the patrol August 26th, is no longer a member of our agency. He surrendered his state peace officer license, which means he can't work as a Missouri law enforcement officer again. He was taken into federal custody. Judge set a bond of $10,000. He pleaded not guilty. Basically, Ashley Johnson, who's a special agent in charge of the FBI in St. Louis division, told people, do not hesitate to report uncomfortable encounters with officers. The FBI investigated both cases, the U.S. Attorney's Office release said. And Johnson said, if you feel your civil rights have been violated, contact the FBI. Investigating criminal conduct by a law enforcement officer is among our top priorities. So.
I mean, first of all, I would never give them my phone.
No.
I mean,
they can take a picture with their phone of my insurance.
Exactly. And if they don't have a search warrant, they can handcuff me. They are not getting my phone. Not that I have any of those type of pictures on my phone, but that's a violation of privacy.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So that one wasn't as fun as my other one, but I felt like it was important. It's a terrible message, but it's a good lesson in the end. So
I have a question.
Uh-oh.
Do you have to let them take your phone if the insurance card is on it?
No, it's not like they scan it or anything. They're just entering the information into the system.
Okay, because
All they
my
need is a
thought is their
photo.
computer is back in their car because normally they take your insurance card and they go back to the patrol car and put it in. Their phones or their personal phones, they are not county state phones, so they can't take a picture of it because then they have work stuff on
I
their
see.
person.
I see police taking pictures of evidence and shit all the time with their personal phones, and then they use it later in their files or whatever.
Okay.
But like all they need to do, they can take a picture. See, all they're doing is going back there and typing in your license plate and then
Information.
looking up the number, the policy number, and connecting it to your card and making sure that that matches, right? So, I mean, and it'll bring it up if it's active or inactive and things like that. But it's yeah, it's a work phone even if it's their phone.
Right, and that's the thing because with the Freedom of Information Act, if they take a picture on their personal phone, that means their phone is now subject to those things. Because I know with me being a volunteer for the county for the emergency response team, that's why I'm like, not doing certain things because that would make can you imagine if they ever took my phone and they looked at my search history with what I do for the podcast? I mean,
You know, what are you
I'm
gonna
going to
do?
just say the easiest thing, just print it out, put it in your glove box, put it in your wallet, put it in the console. Don't even show them your phone. That's just my 2 cents.
I agree.
So.
I agree.
Well, my next one is absolutely adorable, and I am heartbroken that I was not there when this happened. Wild
no.
raccoon drops through ceiling next to Spirit Airline gate at LaGuardia Airport in New York City. So, in a viral video of the incident, the confused raccoon dangles from a wire after falling from the ceiling. Travelers flying from New York City LaGuardia Airport were in for a surprise when a furry critter dropped from the ceiling near Spirit Airlines gate. So the raccoon caused chaos at LaGuardia on November 4th around 8 a.m. when it fell through the crack in the ceiling and it hung from a wire before tumbling into the terminal's floor.
Oh.
So, but no injuries were reported. And there have been no other raccoon sightings, but they did safely locate the raccoon and they released it outside. But I'm
glad
that
they were able to get rid of it or at least release it safely.
I'm so sad that I
outside.
wasn't there to see it. Because I would have pulled out my crackers and I've been like, here, little guy, here, little guy, here, you know.
That would have been not dangerous at all. They are.
Okay, Kevin. Raccoons are not extra scary. It's the rats that are extra scary in New York City. I have seen a rat carry like 2 pieces of pizza at one time. Those are scary. The little raccoons are cute. And I'm sticking by it.
Okay. Well, sad. You like chocolate, right?
I love chocolate. Don't ruin it for
Do you
me.
like
But
Lindt
yes, I
chocolate? Lindt?
do. Like
Lindt?
what? Lindt, Lindor truffles
chocolate?
and Lindt chocolate?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Oh,
well,
no.
in a bid to dodge a U.S. lawsuit, Swiss chocolatier Lindt and Sprüngli has scuppered its own claims about the excellence of its products, a cornerstone of its marketing strategy. Lindt has unsuccessfully tried to end a class action lawsuit in the United States, launched in February 2023 following an article by a U.S. Consumer Association questioning the presence of heavy metals in dark chocolate bars from several manufacturers, including 2 bars produced by Lindt. In its defense strategy, the company has dismantled its own promises of quality, claimed the Swiss newspaper NZZ am Sonntag, raking over a September U.S. court decision. The chocolatier's lawyers maintained that the words excellence and expertly crafted with the finest ingredients printed on its bars were unactionable puffery, according to a decision by the Eastern District of New York District Court. The court, which dismissed Lindt's motion, defined product puffery as exaggerated advertising, blustering, and boasting upon which no reasonable buyer would rely. The Swiss newspaper Le Temps said Lindt was walking a tightrope with this daring defense. The high profit margins are due to the fact that consumers are willing to pay more for its industrial chocolates because of their quality image. The court decision said the plaintiffs brought the class action against Lindt, alleging that the firm deceptively marketed their dark chocolate bars as expertly crafted with the finest ingredients and safe as well as delightful, when the bars in fact contained significant amounts of lead. And as you can imagine, Lindt did not immediately respond to a request for comments. But this is not the first time regarding chocolate and levels of lead and cadmium. Consumers in the U.S. states of Alabama, California, Florida, Illinois, Nevada, and New York have taken legal action on the back of a 2022 article by the U.S. consumer organization Consumer Reports. So this is why we can't have things. Okay. So the organization, the Consumer Reports, tested 28 bars sold in the United States. One of the Lindt bars was among 8 found to have a high level of cadmium, while another was among 10 with a high level of lead, though neither had the highest levels. 2 of its bars, marketed under the U.S. brand Ghirardelli, were among the 5 classified as safer choices. Okay. While bars from other manufacturers had higher concentrations of heavy metals, including from organic brands, consumers insisted in the class action lawsuit that they had paid premium prices for Lindt because they believed they were purchasing quality and safe dark chocolate. So they're not, Switzerland's not too psyched about that situation. I didn't know. I actually never heard about any of this. But
so
get the lead out.
I eat the truffles normally in the ball, the ball shaped when you open it and it's got the yummy in the middle. But I have a Lindor dark chocolate bar in the top drawer of my nightstand, and I allow myself one little square every night when I go to bed.
Well, I mean, listen, everything in moderation, including lead and cadmium, but it was back in 2022. I don't know, for all I know, that this lawsuit started back then and is now finally getting to where it's the decisions being made. So things could have changed and stuff.
Is it only their U.S. ones? Because my bars, I buy them when I go to Finland. So I bought a pack of 12 of them so that I have enough.
Yeah.
Because theirs
it's
don't have
only
as
the
much
U.S.
sugar in them.
manufacturers.
Oh, well then I'm sitting here going, shit.
You're fine. I think everybody's fine.
But that's scary because they say that they're safe. Okay, Lady in Gray says, I ignore all the alerts except for Amber's.
Lady in Gray's been drinking tonight. No, I'm kidding.
What about salmonella, E. coli? As a person who was in California back years ago and wound up in the hospital with E. coli, you'll pay attention to alerts.
That's why you don't eat green things and you're fine.
Is that what the problem is? Maybe that was the problem because it did come from lettuce. Now,
a lot of lettuce.
Okay, if you can't have lead in your paint, why do we allow any lead in our chocolate?
Because
or were they
people get away with
it didn't have it?
Yeah, well, that's half the problem, right? I think is there probably wasn't appropriate testing, and they just kept with the marketing, and that was the big thing, right? The thing wasn't even that there was lead in it; it was that there was lead in it, but they were advertising a higher brand or a higher level of chocolate to cost more, and people felt cheated. So I think if they would have bumped it down $2, people would have been like, worth the lead.
Because you pay the extra money thinking you're getting, like, I won't eat Hershey's chocolate because I don't eat the little when I say I don't eat Hershey's chocolate, I'm talking like in the bars. I don't eat the Hershey's in the bars. I'm sorry, I don't.
It's okay.
I don't.
No worries.
I do eat Mr. Good bars.
You probably shouldn't admit that. I mean, does Double H know?
That I eat Mr. Good bars? Oh, he's aware. He likes to eat them too. We eat them together. That
At
just
least it's a
sounded
family
so
affair.
bad now
It's a
that that
family
just cycled in my
That's where I
head.
was going with it. You knew it. You knew it. You just walked down the
It
trail that
took
I paved. That's all.
it took my brain a minute to get there. But yes, okay, that is disturbing. And I didn't know that Lent had anything to do with Ghirardelli.
Yeah, I think
Because Ghirardelli, we went to the place there on the Embarcadero when we lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. I didn't
so.
know they were
Lint
connected.
Lint is a bigger group, right? So it's Lint
Right.
and Sprungli. So you've got Lint, Ghirardelli, Russell Stover, Caffarel, Hobauer, and Kufferl, and those all make up the Lint and
Okay.
Sprungli Spumoni deal.
How did they
but yeah.
not tell us that when we did the tour there? Because, like, if I have a
Because
choice
they
between
only
Lent and Ghirardelli, I go for the Lent because it's Switzerland. Then I'll go to the Ghirardelli.
it's the same. I mean, it's the same manufacturer. The thing is that Lint is probably primarily made in Switzerland, right?
Switzerland.
And then Ghirardelli is primarily made in the States because those two bars that had the high level of lead were Ghirardelli, but fall under that umbrella. So if you're getting a tour of the umbrella itself, they're not going to talk about all the little minions underneath. So,
Well, I'm going to just say this. I am 54, survived cancer 3 times. Maybe the lead's helping me. Maybe the lead's helping me survive. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, but that's a little disturbing though. So now when I go to bed tonight and I go to eat my little square, I'm going to be like, thank you for that.
you're gonna sniff out the lead.
I'm going to be like, thank you for that.
Give it to Jasper first. If he makes it, you're good.
No, Jasper only likes M&Ms. He doesn't like the peanuts. He only likes the regular M&Ms.
Beggars can't be choosers. Bah!
I need to bring
all
him
right.
on again one day soon.
We should. I think
we
now
ready
we
to
should introduce what we're drinking, though.
I decided to send Double H. Yes, guys, I was down in bed, but I wanted to try to get into the vibe. I have a Spy Valley Sauvignon Blanc. So it has the word spy in it.
Heyo. I didn't do any of that. I still have birthday beer, and so I've got myself a Hardywood, which is the brewer, Bourbon Barrel Crew, which is a Abbey style quadruple ale aged in bourbon barrels. It's 12%. Very good. It's pretty heavy. And then I have what has been a tried and true Imperial Oaxaca Choca Mexican chocolate stout as well. I'm not working tomorrow.
So question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Carrie going to be awake for that Hardywood later?
No. My children are in my bed.
Well, you always have 5 friends around, so.
I was like, which friends do I have? And have they been approved? And then I realized what you were saying.
I was trying to be somewhat correct.
The Hey Ho show's on this channel. We're fine. I promise.
Okay. Sammy just brought up a good point. See, JT is still drinking chocolate with lead in it in his beer.
There's a theme. I highly doubt that this chocolate comes from Lint or Ghirardelli. It probably comes from China, which means it's safer, obviously.
I wonder, and if you ever have time to go down a rabbit hole, does lead cause ADD since we both suffer?
Yes. exposure can cause ADHD symptoms, especially hyperactivity and impulsivity. Here's the funny part is that chocolate in and of itself has caffeine in it. And for people with ADHD, caffeine actually kind of brings us to center. It doesn't make us go crazy because we're looking for that oxytocin. Caffeine does it. Boom. So we'd never know. Do we need to bleep Terry True Crime? I can't bleep her. I can only bleep myself.
Lady agrees. Like, yeah,
So
we need to stop her. They're saying that because they all saw me trying to sing that song and they're really worried about me. No. So I have to tell you, I am ready to hear your case. Or do you want me to go first?
No, I can go. No problem.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have been dying to hear your case since we had to push this because we had the interview with Anthony Christopher. Oh, you know what? That's a perfect segue into announcing.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't have the date in front of me. Do you have the date in front of you? We are
It was
going to have
December.
Javier
Yes.
from the Pretend
December
Podcast on. I think
December
it's the
12th,
12th.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, the 12th to Thursday. So it's on a normal night of True Crime and Wine Time. Javier from the Pretend Podcast is going to be on. We're going to be talking to him about LaDonna, etc. I will say this. I went on to the LaDonna Reddit subreddit, and I saw your post, and it was getting a little bit of traction. There were some comments and things like that. So it's going to be, it's going to be good.
But I'm wondering why I can no longer get into that Reddit account. I got reported.
That's
And
why
that Reddit,
it was her.
that Reddit account
100%.
I can no longer get into that account that I set up just to do that because I'm not a Reddit girl. And I can no longer get in.
That's why. Don't worry.
I violated, but I didn't comment anything. All I did was share a link.
It was fine. Here's the thing. Everybody who commented was positive about it. And then somebody had said, is the video still available? And I 100% linked it in a comment. So, whatever.
Well, I will say
I'm interested to hear.
I saw something on Reddit today because I'm going to reach out to Javier and Anthony tomorrow. Something about new charges for her. And this was posted 4 days ago. And I didn't have time to go down a rabbit hole. So I'll try to do that tomorrow. But yes, we're going to have Javier on, and I am so excited.
Yep.
But yes, I've been excited about your case, and I have been good, and I've reined myself in to not go read.
Well, it's crazy. And there's a little bit of everything, and you got to have some context. So I give you that too. So the case tonight, what I'm covering is the Rosenbergs, and I'm calling this Love, Lies, and Lethal Typewriters, the Rosenbergs' explosive family business. So everyone, we are about to dive into a tale that is so full of spycraft, betrayal, and courtroom drama, it would make the Mission Impossible plot look like a Sesame Street episode. And we're talking about Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, the mom and pop spy shop that ran out of Brooklyn, convinced they could pass atomic secrets like they were trying to sneak snacks into a movie theater. So we're talking about the 1950s, right? America is knee-deep in the Cold War. The only thing colder at that point were the stares of every suburban mom who's convinced her neighbor's been stashing Soviet propaganda behind the toilet. Enter the Rosenbergs. An Acreage, New York couple with a side of treason, which I assume is the dish that bankrupted TGI Fridays. But Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were not your typical spies. They were more Partridge Family band than James Bond. Julius was an engineer with a knack for talking. Somehow pulled together an entire network of friends and relatives for the Soviet cause. It was like an Amway sales pitch, but with espionage. Hey, have you heard about our amazing new atomic secrets? It'll blow your mind and probably the planet. Ethel, on the other hand, well, she grew up wanting to be an actress. So how could she have possibly known that she would end up being cast in the role of a lifetime? Maybe. She went from high school theater straight to the biggest stage in America, a courtroom with charges of espionage. And the prosecution's main evidence? Well, that would be giving everything away. So, how does the saga end? Well, sit back, sip your wine or whatever else you might have, your lead chocolate, and get ready for a story of Cold War paranoia, family drama, and the most dangerous typewriter in American history. I really built that up, didn't I?
Sorry, I muted myself because I have a mother-in-law who's on the phone screaming at someone in the background, and I've tried to prevent everybody from hearing.
I can't hear any of it if it's happening
Okay.
while you're talking.
I'll
so
just
you're fine.
keep pressing mute on myself. Sorry. But no, that's a
Fine.
buildup. So I want to know.
All right.
And when you say Ethel, all I can think of is Lucille Ball.
Oh yeah, that's fair. All I can think of is Ray Stevens. Don't look, Ethel. Oh yes, they call him the Streak. Fastest thing on TV. You never heard Ray Stevens? He's like country comedy.
I
Really?
have no idea
The
what you're saying.
Mississippi Squirrel Revival, Sitting Up with the Dead. None of. Oh
Yep.
boy.
Okay,
Oh,
you're going to need to tell me, send me some links, some names, so I need to check it out.
I will. He's been around for a very, very long time. He's gone a little political, and not in the way that I thought he would,
Who
but
hasn't?
that's okay. His stuff when I was growing up was like prime comedy material for me. All right, so let's talk about Julius Rosenberg first. Julius's life story intertwines youthful idealism, Cold War paranoia, and espionage, capturing the height of American fear of communism during the Red Scare. Born on May 12, 1918, in New York City to Russian Jewish immigrant parents, Rosenberg initially showed an inclination towards religious study and reportedly considered becoming a rabbi. But you know how that goes. Interests shift from rabbi to radical politics, and he joined the Young Communist League in his teens. That's a typical traditional pattern, right? After graduating from Seward Park High School, he attended City College. He earned a degree in electrical engineering in 1939, the same year that he ended up marrying Ethel Greenglass, which sounds like a made-up name, but it's not.
Could be worse.
Ethel became one of the most debated figures in American history for her role in this case. And I have an update from September of this year, I think. I can't remember. It's at the end of the script, but I have an update from September of this year that really kind of turns this on its head. So she was born on September 28th, 1915 in New York City's Lower East Side. She grew up in a crowded tenement with her Russian immigrant parents, Barney and Tessie Greenglass, and her two younger brothers, Bernard and David. Despite their limited means, Ethel developed an early love for the arts and social causes, attending Seward Park High School, where she participated in theater and had dreams of a career in acting. However, financial necessity led her to work for the National New York Packing and Shipping Company after graduating in 1931. Tale as old as time, actor straight to packing and shipping. Nothing changes. Nothing changes.
Nothing changes.
So those two's paths to espionage began with with shared political beliefs, radicalization, and a wartime environment that fueled their commitment to the Soviet cause. Julius was drawn into political activism from an early age. Like I said, he joined the Young Communist League during his college years. And while studying electrical engineering at City College, he met like-minded individuals, including Morton Sobel, who would later become a co-conspirator in the espionage network. In 1940, Julius landed a job as a civilian engineer with the U.S. Army Signal Corps, which gave him access to classified military information. Every time, this is probably this is old school and it might even be borderline racist, but every time I think of a spy, especially during Cold War, a Russian spy, all I can think of is a fearless leader in Moose and Squirrel. Like Boris and Natasha. That's all I can think of every time. That's what goes through my head. I digress. During World War II, when the U.S. and Soviet Union were allies, Julius felt that sharing intelligence with the Soviets was a means of supporting a shared cause against Nazi Germany. I can see that, actually. By 1942, he was actively involved in espionage, working with Soviet handlers to relay sensitive U.S. military tech and eventually atomic secrets. He gradually built a network of informants, including scientists and engineers, that reached critical points of access to American military research, especially the Manhattan Project, which is amazing considering nobody knew about it. Not until a big boom in the middle of the, desert.
Somebody knew.
Eventually, which they didn't tell anybody about, by the way. That's a whole nother conversation, to be honest with you, and possible crime. So Ethel's path was somewhat different, shaped by her family's circumstances and her own commitment to leftist causes. She grew up in a working class family. She became involved in labor organizing during her job at the National New York Packing and Shipping Company, and there she developed strong political convictions and became an active supporter of the Communist Party. And that's what led her to meet and later marry Julius. They basically kind of bonded together over Tinder Red. It's like Taylor Swift's album Red in the parentheses or whatever, but it's just Tinder Red. All right. Which you swipe left. You swipe far left. Far left. Okay. Anyways. Well, everybody gets a vote. While her active role in espionage has been debated, Ethel's connection to the network deepened through her relationship with Julius and her family ties, naturally. The Rosenbergs' political beliefs, combined with Julius's access to critical military information and Ethel's loyalty, ultimately led them down a path that transformed them from idealistic activists into Soviet spies. Now, to give you a little context about all of this, most of you will know some of this stuff. I thought it was important in case somebody does watch that's like Cold War. What's that? The Cold War and the atomic bomb. Think of it like the world's longest and weirdest staring contest between the US and the Soviet Union, with each side placing their respective country's member, aka on the table, just begging the other to look down to see how big it is, but they aren't budging, and they're just saying, "We've got the bombs," and the other side going, "Oh yeah, we got bigger bombs." That's pretty much what that was. Cold War in a nutshell, pun intended.
As you say, I just had a huge visual in.
And when I put that together, I was so proud of that visual.
I was like, okay, but that explains it so well. I now have a much better grasp.
Obviously, there's more, sociopolitical, all that stuff with it, and there's.
But in a nutshell, it comes down to that.
Truly, what it came down to me, especially near the end with Reagan, was dick measuring. That's what it was. It's what it was. So this all kicked off right after World War II. So when I say that Julius thought he was helping the cause by helping Soviet Russia during World War II, I mean that because Russia ended up fighting against the Nazis. God, it's too soon. So it kicked off right after World War II when the United States became the only country with the keys to nuclear doom. They just dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan to end the war, which brings up a host of other topics and crimes to discuss, but I'm not going to right now. And then, courtesy of the Manhattan Project, It was a secret lab operation in Los Alamos, New Mexico, where scientists were out in the desert doing physics experiments like, what if we made the air explode? Or what if we had a disintegration ray that went boom? Those were the questions. Those were our hypotheses that led the Manhattan Project, those two, word for word. I did not make that up at all. I did. Led by Robert...
Really?
What? No, not at all. Although it's funny.
I'm gullible.
It's honestly, at a certain point, it did boil down to that, didn't it? It's like,
It
how can we
did.
make the biggest boom?
It did.
And Oppenheimer said, you should ask my toddler. Led by Robert Oppenheimer, who must have had the wildest job title ever, they set off the first atomic test at the Trinity site on in July of 1945. Sammy said, instead of drunk history, we're having a better show. Oh, you stop it. Yes. A month. So they set it the first atomic bomb test, Trinity site, July 1945. A month later, they'd made 2 more bombs for Japan. Boom. And in the words of a famous line from a movie, game over, man. Game over. World War II's done. The U.S. stood there with that classic, look what I can do, energy, hoping the Soviets were impressed. And to that I say, niet. Now, you'd think being wartime allies would have made the U.S. and the Soviet Union buddies. No. Wrong. As soon as the dust settled, and due to some need for redirection and for the U.S. to have a constant enemy to bond because of course we have to have an enemy to bond us all together at least in some way, it was clear that these two were oil and water, just due to the rhetoric being used. America was all like, freedom, capitalism, let's build highways and burger joints. And Soviet Union was like, collective ownership, comrades. We're all about the one-party life. And President Truman, he thought the atomic bomb was the ultimate respect my authority card. He figured dropping it might get the Soviets to sit down like John Thomas. That's a Lori Vallow reference. And listen. Spoiler, it didn't work. For the next 40 years, America's foreign policy could be summarized as stop communism, keep the upper hand, resulting in a toddler global game of who can build the biggest boom. In 1949, the Soviets decided it was their turn to play. So they detonated their own atomic bomb, which was basically like someone doing the same dance you just did, but at double speed. And President Truman said, President Truman was stunned. And he naturally decided, all right, time for the hydrogen bomb. Because, strength and TNT count, I suppose. And everyone in the U.S. was asking, wait, how did the Soviets do that so fast? Did they skip a few steps? Did they misread the IKEA instructions? Do they have a shortcut? What happened? And then came the realization, the triple take, the bah, bah, bah moment. Spies. Because, of course, suddenly, everyone looked around suspiciously. Just like it was 1 second. One moment, please. You get it. You're gonna get a visual.
Okay. I mean,
that's what it was.
That's accurate.
Yeah. And so everyone looked around suspiciously, and anyone with even a whiff of left-wing sympathies was treated like they might be hiding blueprints to the next A-bomb in their lunchbox. The Red Scare was officially on, and the Cold War was like that high school rivalry that spiraled out of control, was all talk, but with nuclear weapons. And in the end, we got a world filled with enough nuclear weapons to make you consider moving to Uranus. I picked that on purpose because it's funny. It's like the old Cold War motto went, quote, mutually assured destruction. A plan so nice will end the world twice. To me,
So
the nuclear bomb thing is like having a really, really high jacked up unnecessary truck where they pass by, it makes a lot of noise, they're really high up, and I'm like, sorry about your small penis.
yeah.
So
Well, and when you were saying high school rivalry, this says a lot about me. I thought of the Grease movie where they go at each other after the
oh
bowling alley, the slick back
yeah,
guy against the I can't think of the names right now. Shoot me.
Grease?
But that's what I was thinking of. You think it's all talk until something happens.
Exactly. So as mentioned, Julius worked as an engineer for the US Army Signal Corps, handling military technology and classified communications. Although he formally severed ties with communist organizations at the time, he began clandestinely passing information to Soviet agents. His dedication to the Soviet Union grew during the war, especially as the US and USSR were then allies, like I had mentioned. In 1942, he began covert operations for Soviet intelligence and quickly became a trusted asset, eventually known by the code name Liberal. By 1945, he had assembled a network of informants, including his city college friend Morton Sobel, if you remember from the beginning, who and Morton was worth his salt. Haha. And his brother-in-law, David Greenglass, who was working on the Manhattan Project in Los Alamos, was also a part of it because Ethel's younger brother was working on the Manhattan Project. So it's just, yeah, it's a blown up world after all.
So I just want to stop you
Mhm.
right there and tell people who are not aware of this. The only way a secret is if no one except you know. Because once you tell somebody else, it's no longer a secret.
The only way two people can keep a secret if one dies.
No, that one shouldn't even
That's
know.
like the motto of the mafia, you know.
Yeah. So
Um, so Rosenberg's network was especially effective in relaying valuable military intelligence. One of his key contributions was providing Soviet agents with information on a critical piece of weaponry called the proximity fuse. That was a device that later played a crucial role in shooting down an American U-2 spy plane in 1960. Rosenberg's operations were methodical and extensive. He was an engineer, right? He was an engineer. And he met with Soviet handler Alexander. This last name, it's got to be made up. Alexander Feklisov. It's the first two syllables are feckless, and I'm dead. Anyways, he met with him multiple times to hand over information that advanced Soviet technology and intelligence could use. And here's how I wrote a little script. Here's how I think this went. So, I've got the information you asked for. It's in code, but I'll warn you, it's not exactly easy to decipher. My friend, you're talking to a KGB. Difficult is our favorite word. We practically put it on our business cards. Right. So I'm just supposed to hand this over like a secret recipe, like I'm some kind of spy chef, a dash of plutonium, a sprinkle of uranium, voila, atomic bomb? Duh. Exactly like recipe, except recipe for ending world capitalism. You make it sound so easy. But really? I mean, the amount of info I'm giving you guys at this rate, I might as well add atomic consultant to my resume. Atomic consultant. I like that. Sounds very fancy. Better than government traitor. Yeah, I'll pass on that title. So what does Moscow think of my work so far? They get the last batch of, Oh, they love it. Last week, they even threw a party for you. Big one. Potato vodka for everyone in your honor. Really? They threw a party? Oh, well, it was more of a mandatory morale boosting assembly. But yes, there was potato vodka. I guess I should feel flattered. My work's important, right? Changing the world, making history. Oh, absolutely. And remember, you're doing this for the greater good. Right, greater good. Just one more question. Are you sure no one's gonna find out, like, absolutely certain? Julius, please, KGB knows how to keep secrets. You think we last this long by being sloppy? No, niet. Trust us. We have it all under control. Whew. Okay, good. Because I told Ethel this was like a volunteer project. Honey, I'm just helping the underdog, and she thinks we're signing up for some kind of espionage charity. Ah, Julius, that's why I like you. Such a dedicated family man, with just a pinch of treason. Well, I try. So same time next week? Da. And bring the recipe. And maybe a little less nervous laughter. Well, you know what they say about too much of an espionage thing. The US government, when they realized that the USSR had atomic capabilities, became frantic. An investigation was launched to uncover who had supplied the Soviet Union with atomic knowledge. And this was an extremely complex investigation involving multiple arrests and confessions within a larger Soviet spy network. The primary evidence against the Rosenbergs came from testimonies of co-conspirators, intercepted Soviet communications, and circumstantial evidence gathered by the FBI. Now, in terms of the initial breakthrough, the investigation began with the arrest of Klaus Fuchs, a British physicist who had worked on the Manhattan Project and was suspected of passing atomic secrets to the Soviets. In early 1950, Fuchs confessed to espionage, which led to the arrest of his American contact, Harry Gold, a Soviet courier based in the US. Now, when Klaus was arrested, it was realized that he had a name that also served as his last words as a free person. Ah, Fuchs. Gold's confession. Gold's confession provided the FBI with a significant lead. He identified David Greenglass. Well, that's Ethel's younger brother, and a machinist who also worked on the Manhattan Project as a source of atomic information. David Greenglass's confession and testimony, when he was questioned, he confessed to espionage and implicated his brother-in-law, Julius Rosenberg, as the person who had recruited him into the Soviet spy network. Because, of course, when the FBI does an investigation, they don't just want the stooges. They want the big one, right? Greenglass.
I have to stop real quick and ask a question because it's in my brain. Wasn't the atomic bomb built in Tennessee somewhere? Because I want to say I had a call center that I managed there back when I was a director for that company. Oak Ridge, Knoxville.
It was built in, Oak Ridge, Tennessee.
Okay, because I accidentally turned into the facility my very first visit there, and I was on the phone with Double H,
How'd that go?
and I thought it was the call center because the map told me to turn, and I just remember it said something atomic on it, and later I was told, because they came and surrounded my rental car, jumped out, and it was a big to-do. So I was like, I thought it was Tennessee.
Did.
Yeah.
I accidentally this was like freshman year in college in Newport News, and I was driving to Williamsburg because I was doing a stage play, or a musical rather, in Williamsburg. And instead of taking the B exit, I took the A exit, and that took me to hold on, that's not right. Hold on, I've got to remember what it is.
It's okay. Well, I will just say Oak Ridge is beautiful.
Oh, that's it. There it is. I turned. So once you get off the exit, you get straight to a gate. And being a military kid, I was like, this is the military gate. And it was the military gate to the farm, which is CIA training, if you know about the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So, little 18-year-old me, who weighs like maybe 105 pounds.
Oh, cute little you.
Yeah, cute little me. Before I put on another human being. I couldn't go anywhere because like you're literally just like herded into a line. And this guy steps out and he has an automatic rifle. And I was like, I kind of expected that. Like if I wasn't a military kid, I would have freaked out.
I was
But I
say,
kind of
I'm not a
expected that.
military kid, so I was freaked out. And I was a single female on a trip. So
they popped out. I said, I took the wrong exit. I'm so sorry. Can I just go forward and make a U-turn? And he said, no. And I said, okay, what's the best way to do this? And he's like, you're going to back up and then you're going to turn around. He wouldn't even let me go through to make a UE. Yeah, not at all. Not at all. And I'm going to be honest with you. I wasn't surprised at all. I mean, security is what security is. And I wasn't offended. But he was very good at being intimidating. I'm sure he was the nicest guy in the world. And he could have been a complete asshole to me, but he wasn't. My bar for that, like that role, you kind of have to be one. So my bar is real low. So he was a lot nicer than he had to be. Anyways, in short, I almost ended up on the farm. And by that, I mean, I almost ended up 6 feet under on the farm. So,
okay.
So green, yeah. But, so did you, where you ended up, is it still a base?
It's some kind of facility. There's all this, now I know military stuff outside. They have something there still in reserve if it's ever needed or something. I learned this after that because everybody, when I got to the site, they were all laughing their heads off at this cute little Texas girl because they were like, oh yeah, if something ever hits that area, we're all dead. And I'm like, excuse me?
Sorry, I just did a quick look. And since we're talking nuclear anyways, it is still a thing.
Kind of thing.
It is the U.S. Department of Energy National Nuclear Security Administration. It's managed and operated under contract by Consolidated Nuclear Security. And it still okay, so we'll go forward. We'll fast forward. In 1999, there was an explosion that injured several workers at the Y-12 facility. That's what it's called. And then in 2023, just last year, did anybody hear about this? I did not hear about this.
I didn't,
at 9 a.m. on February 22nd. Huh?
What happened?
So February 22nd, 2023, a fire broke out in a uranium processing area of Building 9212. And in a statement from the National Nuclear Security Administration, the fire was said to be contained later the same day. Did anybody hear about this?
I
did not hear about this.
And nobody that I know that still lives in that area posted it.
Well, I can't say it wasn't reported. This source goes to USA Today, so it obviously was.
So it didn't make mainstream.
It obviously was reported at some point.
Well, your security guy was nicer than my security guy. They made me get out of the car.
Oh, really?
And they checked me.
Yeah.
They took my car and brought it around the front of the gate. And then I was able to get back in it. And they took these little mirror things and looked underneath it. They checked my briefcase.
They're checking for explosives.
I had to give them my ID. They went and scanned a copy, so I was put on a list there. I mean, it freaked me the F out.
I'm assuming this was after 2001, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was.
Those mirrors came out after 2001.
Yeah. It was. Oh, but yeah. So I
Yeah,
didn't know because I'm not a military brat. My dad was in the Coast Guard. But yeah, so it freaked me out. But I followed the Google Map thing on my phone. It said take a right. I turned right.
yeah. I mean,
And I wound up, and I was in a suit. I had my nice 3-inch heels on, cute little small me. It was my first time to go to that site because I had 32 sites.
yeah.
It was my first time going. And every time I went to visit after that, I shook when I went by the facility driving.
I mean, and to a degree, it's a bit much, but also if they don't,
I say if
you know,
I don't
there's
fault them once I found out what was there.
yeah.
They were doing their jobs. But they could have had a big sign that says must be approved to turn here, something. So I would have seen it and been like, oh, don't turn there.
That brings attention. Can't have that. So,
So, but was the atomic bomb that you're talking about, was it from there?
yeah, one part of it, or one of them was, yeah. So Greenglass, Ethel's brother, testified that Julius had recruited him in 1944 and encouraged him to pass on classified atomic information from Los Alamos. Now, according to Greenglass, he provided Julius with sketches and descriptions related to atomic bomb designs, which Julius then allegedly passed on to Soviet handlers. Now, how detailed, this is not in the script, I'm obviously going off script. How detailed those are from a machinist, I don't know. I mean, I suppose he could have access to the blueprints, therefore he couldn't take a photo, right?
Right.
So he could have recreated them. But that happened. So Greenglass then further claimed that Ethel had assisted in the espionage by typing up his notes, effectively implicating her in the conspiracy. I don't know if he thought the more I give, the better it'll be for me. I don't know
Probably.
why a younger brother would give up his older sister. I don't have that information, but he did. His testimony would become a pivotal part of the case, as it placed both Julius and Ethel at the center of the operation to pass atomic secrets to Soviets. Now, the U.S. government had been intercepting Soviet communications since World War II through a secret intelligence project known as Venona, which sounds like a really bad ex-girlfriend. Well, Venona transcripts were not publicly revealed until decades later. Decrypted messages had identified a spy code-named Liberal, believed to be Julius Rosenberg, who was actively passing information. So things are starting to line up. And oddly enough, different projects, different teams, and government actually talking to each other. Oh, wow. While the Venona evidence was not directly presented in court, it influenced the FBI's suspicion and helped guide their investigation towards Julius. Now, with Greenglass's confession and other corroborating evidence from Harry Gold's testimony, the FBI arrested Julius Rosenberg on July 17, 1950, at his home in New York City. Julius remained calm, denied all charges, refusing to implicate anyone else in espionage activities, to which I'm sure he said, well, I'm better than David. What the hell, dude? After Julius's arrest, the FBI sought additional leverage to pressure him into confessing or providing names of other spies. So on August 11th, 1950, they arrested Ethel Rosenberg. The FBI hoped that arresting Ethel would persuade Julius to cooperate to secure her release. But both steadfastly maintained their innocence and refused to cooperate with authorities. It's so interesting to me because I know that the FBI would have known that if they said more, they were dead anyways. So it's like, you know, it is a little shifty.
It is.
Another key figure who gave evidence, Morton, right? Saltman Sobel, a former classmate of Julius and an alleged co-conspirator, He was arrested while hiding in Mexico because nothing says I'm not guilty like going to Mexico.
Try.
He was extradited to the United States and eventually testified that he and Julius had shared scientific and military information with Soviet agents. Sobel's testimony corroborated aspects of the Rosenbergs' involvement in the spy ring, though it provided little new evidence specifically implicating Ethel. So as of right now, what it looks like is that David is the one who gave up Ethel, but there's no other evidence to corroborate the fact that she actually had anything to do with anything. So you can kind of see where this is going.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for some of our trial nerds, I'm going to talk a little bit about the trial because I thought it was really interesting and very biased. Imagine that. During the Cold War
that.
and Red Scare. So the trial of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, which began on March 6, 1951, was held in New York's Southern District Court. Now, probably heard of them, especially recently. That's the site of the trials like U.S. versus Bernie Madoff, U.S. v. IBM, U.S. v. Martha Stewart, U.S. v. El Chapo, U.S. versus John Gotti, U.S. v. Jeff Epstein, U.S. v. Twitter. You know, the hit list of the big cases, right? This started off incredibly biased with, and Diddy, right? Diddy for now, yes, at this moment. Judge Irving R. Kaufman's comments at the trial's outset communicated that prevailing bias, as he said that the defendant's loyalty lay with communism rather than their country, which is about as unbiased as a spy writing his own performance review. Quote, "A risked life, gathered secrets, looked dashing in a trench coat." It's just, it is amazing to me. It's like last night when I was doing the transcript and I was reading, if you get a chance to go back to last night's episode, I highly suggest you do.
Yes, people go listen. I listened to it today. I couldn't watch, but I was listening. I had to stop and I was like, wait a minute.
That judge is like the modern Kaufman. So it's no surprise this was highly sensationalized. It was covered as it was set against the backdrop of Cold War tensions and anti-communist sentiment in the United States. It was like, we got one. Oh, look, all of this Red Scare was worth something. Charged with conspiracy to act. Right. Oh, for sure. For sure. So they were charged with conspiracy to commit espionage. The Rosenbergs were accused of passing atomic secrets to the Soviet Union, enabling the USSR to accelerate its nuclear program. The trial would become one of the most infamous of the Cold War era, not just because of the verdict, but also for the public debate it stirred about the loyalty, justice, and the fear of infiltration. Now, the prosecution's case against the Rosenbergs was spearheaded by prosecutor Irving H. Saypool, which I feel like you have to say just like that.
You have to say it just like that.
Irving was a determined anti-communist who had already made a name for himself as a red buster. Not my quote, theirs. He portrayed the Rosenbergs as deeply embedded communists whose allegiance to the Soviet Union outweighed any loyalty to the United States. Saypool argued that Julius, with Ethel's support, operated as the leader of a spy ring that passed classified information on atomic research to agents. The prosecution relied heavily on the testimony of David Greenglass, Ethel's younger brother, who was a machinist. Greenglass said that Julius had recruited him to pass that information, and that Ethel, his own sister, like I had mentioned, typed up notes and sketches that he provided. The evidence presented by the prosecution included his now infamous testimony in which he described a clandestine meeting in September 1945 at the Rosenbergs' New York apartment. According to David, Ethel typed up his hastily scribbled notes on a high explosive lens, a critical component in atomic weaponry, while Julius oversaw the process. This scene was painted vividly by Saypool, who told the jury, quote, Ethel Rosenberg struck the keys, blow by blow, against her own country in the interest of the Soviets. I don't know why I made him Southern because he's in New York, but this is just go with me on it.
Hey, I like it. You're good.
The dramatic language I could do it in New York, I guess. Ethel Rosenberg struck the keys, blow by blow. Okay, so the dramatic language underscored the notion that Ethel's actions were intentional acts of betrayal, though her direct involvement in espionage remained contested. Another key witness again was Harry Gold, a confessed courier for Soviet agents who claimed that he met with Greenglass in Albuquerque in 1945. Everything good happens in Albuquerque. Using the passphrase, "I come from Julius." Gold's testimony helped link the Rosenbergs to a larger network of Soviet spies, strengthening the prosecution's case that the Rosenbergs' alleged activities were part of a systematic, orchestrated effort to undermine American security. Now, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were represented by Emanuel Bloch, a civil rights attorney with a reputation for defending leftist causes. Bloch argued that the Rosenbergs were innocent victims of Cold War hysteria caught in the government's overzealous effort to root out communists within American society. The defense contended that the case was built on flimsy evidence and unreliable witnesses, notably David Greenglass, whom Bloch painted as a man willing to betray his own family to save himself. I think we'd probably call most of that a straw argument, but at a certain point, you got to come up with something if they're paying you, I guess.
Earn your paycheck.
Right. Bloch emphasized the lack of physical evidence directly connecting Ethel to espionage, arguing that Greenglass's testimony was exaggerated and contradictory. During the trial, Bloch questioned Greenglass's account of the infamous typing scene, probing inconsistencies and suggesting that Greenglass had fabricated details to protect his wife, Ruth, who was also implicated in espionage but never prosecuted. When Julius took the stand, denying all charges and asserting his innocence, Ethel did not testify. Instead, the Rosenbergs largely invoked the Fifth Amendment when questioned about their alleged communist affiliations and activities, a tactic that likely worked against them in the eyes of the jury and a public that was already on high alert and ready to convict for communist threats. Now, Judge Irving Kaufman presided, and his role was anything but neutral, as I mentioned. At the start of the trial, Kaufman made his stance. Like I said, the evidence is... He literally declared... He basically did the prosecution's opening statement. He declared, quote, "The evidence will show that the loyalty and allegiance of the Rosenbergs were not to our country, but to communism." I don't call that neutral.
No.
I hear Chief Perry rolling in his sleep right now. Chief Judge Perry.
Yeah.
This statement set a tone that indicated his personal bias, and his conduct throughout the trial reflected a harsh attitude towards those defendants. Now, on March 29th, 1951, after nearly a month of testimonies and arguments, the jury delivered its verdict. Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were found guilty of conspiracy to commit espionage. Judge Kaufman then imposed the death penalty, which was a decision that shocked many and stirred international outcry. In his sentencing, Kaufman said, quote, "I consider your crimes worse than murder. By your betrayal, you undoubtedly have altered the course of history. I don't know what I'm doing. Of history to the disadvantage of our country." He further argued that their actions had, quote, "already caused the communist aggression in Korea," implying that the Rosenbergs bore indirect responsibility for American casualties in the Korean War. His severe words underscored the symbolic significance he and much of the public attached to their case. Now, in terms of reading the verdict, the clerk said, "Mr. Foreman, have you agreed upon a verdict?" "Yes, sir, Your Honor, we have." How say you? We, the jury, find Julius Rosenberg guilty as charged. We, the jury, find Ethel Rosenberg guilty as charged. We, the jury, find Morton Sobel guilty as charged. Members of the jury, listen to the verdict as it stands recorded. You say you find the defendant Julius Rosenberg guilty, Ethel Rosenberg guilty, and Morton Sobel guilty. So say you all? Yes. E.H. Block says, if the court please, I ask that the jury be polled as to each defendant. Very well. Anyways, they polled him, and then E.H. Block. Okay. The court says.
Keep going. I got problems. You keep
What's
going.
wrong? No. Tell me.
So if women back in the 1950s had to do what their husband told them, they couldn't have their own credit cards. They weren't supposed to think for themselves. They didn't have rights. How could they say she was conspiring? Her husband basically owned her back then.
So
she had to do what she was told.
There's this thing that's known as you don't have your own agency until it benefits my case.
But I'm just sitting here going, wait a minute. I recently found out my mother couldn't have her own credit card in her name until 1970.
Right.
Ethel she had no choice but to use the typewriter because her husband told her to.
And we might be going back to that. But without saying that, what I just did.
But you did. It's okay.
You see, here's the thing. Yes, that is the case. And they probably used that to then further prosecute. To say she obviously had a hand in this because he was the ringleader. So therefore, she definitely did it versus
she wanted
was told
to do it. She wanted it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, you keep going. I just am sitting here going, this is a little too close to home.
It was the conspiracy. She wanted it, right? All right. So the judge said in return, my opinion is that your verdict is a correct verdict. And what I was particularly pleased about was the time which you took to deliberate in this case. I must say that as an individual, I cannot be happy because it is a sad day for America. The thought that the citizens of our country would lend themselves to the destruction of their own country by the most destructive weapon known to man is so shocking that I can't find words to describe the loathsome offense. And the prosecutor comes back and says, the conviction of the defendants in a criminal case is no occasion for exaltation, which is the prosecution's way and always is of saying, yippee! It has been said that the government never loses a case because if there is a conviction, the guilty are punished. The government never loses a case. That ended real fast, didn't it? And if there is an acquittal, the presumption of innocence must permanently prevail. The conviction of these defendants, however, is an occasion for sober reflection. That you, the jury, so considered it is evidence from the fact that you deliberated for 6.5 hours last night, a whole 6.5 hours for a month trial. And the nature of your requests as to the evidence and the identity of the witnesses, amongst other things, demonstrates that you complied throughout the instructions of the learned court, and that your conclusion is a mature, a reflected one. The jury's verdict is a ringing answer of our democratic society to those who would destroy it. First, because he went on a diatribe. First, because I'm not making this up either. This is directly from the transcript.
Oh, you're not? I thought you were sitting.
No, this is from the reading of the verdict down. This is direct transcript from the trial. First, because a full, fair, open, and complete trial in sound American tradition was given to a group of people who represented perhaps the sharpest secret eyes of our enemies. They were given every opportunity to present every defense, and I would fight at all times for their right to defend themselves freely and vigorously. Secondly, your verdict is a warning that our democratic society, while maintaining its freedom, can nevertheless fight back against treasonable activities. And Block, saying what he could, said, I want to extend my appreciation to the court for its courtesies. And again, I repeat, I want to extend my appreciation for the courtesies extended to me by Mr. Sapol and the members of his staff, as well as the members of the FBI. And I would like to say to the jury that a lawyer does not always win a case. All that a lawyer expects is a jury to decide a case on the evidence with mature deliberation. I feel satisfied by reason of the length of time that you took for your deliberations, as well as the questions asked during the course of your deliberations, that you examined very carefully the evidence and came to a certain conclusion, which is not a ringing endorsement for me for him. But then the court said, thank you. End of transcript.
That's it?
The Rosenbergs, I promise we're almost done. The Rosenbergs' conviction sparked a global controversy, with many arguing that their trial had been tainted by Cold War hysteria and anti-communist sentiments. You don't say. A vigorous campaign for clemency was launched, attracting supporters from around the world. And that includes figures like Albert Einstein and Pope Pius XII.
Oh, okay.
Emanuel Bloch filed numerous appeals on behalf of the Rosenbergs, arguing that the evidence was insufficient and that the death sentence was excessive, particularly for Ethel, whose involvement was not definitively proven. Despite these efforts, President Truman and later President Eisenhower refused to grant clemency. In the final days before their execution, a stay was temporarily issued by Supreme Court Justice William O. Douglas. But when somebody has the middle initial O. Douglas, I just assume it's what their mother screamed out when they... Never mind. But the full court overturned the stay, sealing Rosenberg's fate. Also not in the script. 2 10+% beers. It's good. On June 19th, 1953, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. Well, we'll get there. On the evening of June 19th, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were executed in the electric chair at Sing Sing Prison in Ossining, New York. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. The execution process was tense. It was marked by the intense public and media attention surrounding the case and the Rosenbergs' steadfast refusal to admit guilt. Even at the very end, their deaths were the first and only executions of American civilians for espionage during peacetime. Now, Julius Rosenberg was brought into the execution chamber first, just before 8 p.m. He was calm, maintaining a composed demeanor as he entered the room. Observers noted his stillness as he sat in the electric chair, refusing to show any fear or regret. The prison chaplain reportedly offered Julius a final chance to confess his crimes, but Julius declined, continuing to profess his innocence as he had throughout the trial and appeals process. The prison officials strapped... By the way, a lot of people say that nowadays we are very dark and focused on true crime. But have we, in any of the recent time, ever received this detailed of information about an execution? I don't think we have.
I don't think we have. So that tells you it's
They were-
been there
They were real
for a
into
while.
it.
That comes up in my case. A couple of things
Okay.
that I thought were current, but they've been around a while.
Yeah. So the prison officials strapped him into the chair, placing electrodes on his head and body. At 8:06 p.m., they administered the first jolt of electricity. The current surged through Julius's body, causing it to convulse briefly, after which his body fell still. The prison doctor checked his vitals, but Julius was still alive. After 2 additional jolts, He was pronounced dead at 8:10 p.m., which means that it took 4 minutes in the electric chair to kill him.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you thought that was bad, after Julius's death, Ethel was led into the chamber, which I'm sure smelled fantastic, by the way, described by witnesses as looking pale but stoic. She maintained her composure as she was seated in the electric chair, refusing offers to make a final statement. Like Julius, Ethel continued to deny the accusations against her, steadfast in her innocence. Now, there is a piece of me that really believes that she didn't have anything to do with this. There's a piece of me. I do not have the evidence in front of me, therefore I cannot say that with.
She didn't have a right to make her own decisions. So based on
Right.
that,
Right.
I'm yeah.
And so there's a piece of me, there. Well, we'll get there. So she continued to deny the accusations. Her final words, reportedly spoken earlier to her lawyers before, were simple. I have no names to give. I'm innocent. Ethel's execution, however, was marked by a technical problem that made her death more prolonged than Julian's.
Shit.
So she was put into, do I have the time when she was put into the chair? He was dead at 8:10. I'm gonna go that she was probably in the chair by 8:12. I'm guessing they pulled him out, brought her in. I'm guessing there wasn't much time. And I'm going off of when he was declared dead
They
versus
didn't
when he was
clean
declared
it?
dead. No. I don't have the knowledge of that, but I highly doubt it because of how quickly this happened. So he died at 8:10, right? Or 8:10. So when the first current was administered to Ethel, she convulsed but remained alive. Witnesses, visibly shaken, later recounted that prison officials administered additional shocks after noticing she was still breathing. Finally, after 5 electrical surges, 2 more than Julius, Ethel Rosenberg was pronounced dead at 8:16. So that is what tells me there was some time but there was very little time in between. You go. I'll finish up. Then you got time. So in terms of witnesses to this execution, these witnesses included journalists, prison officials, and FBI agents. Many were actually deeply unsettled by the prolonged and painful process, particularly in Ethel's case. And this drawn-out death shocked the public, with media accounts describing the scene in graphic detail, leaving a lasting image of the Rosenbergs' final moments. Now, for many, the execution represented how brutal the punishments were during the Cold War. For others, it was seen as a necessary measure to protect national security in an era rife with fear of espionage and communist infiltration. And I'm going to wait just for Terry to come back, which she's almost back. There you are.
Here.
All right. So I basically just said that the people who witnessed it were messed up, which I get.
Well, okay. I'm still caught up on the fact they didn't clean it between people. And it was her husband. So you're making her come and sit in her husband's stuff where he was just killed. So yeah, I'm a girl. I think about those things.
I'm trying to look.
And the fact that it took 3 times for him, and then if hers was longer,
5.
That is torture.
So that's why I'm saying he died at 8:10. She died at 8:16. I'm guessing because of the time frame, she was probably put into the seat between 8:12 and 8:13, Therefore, it took her in that chair 3 to 4 minutes to die.
Assembly line.
Yeah, exactly. And the condition of the chair and the room is one thing, but you're
Her
literally hooking
mental
electrodes up to somebody's skin. And so I cannot imagine what walking into that quickly would be like.
Yeah. I mean, the
So,
trauma is on so many levels. I mean,
yeah.
just it
Now,
shows no
not to make
regard
everybody
for humans.
right. And not to make anybody cry, but I was able to find a document, an original document, which is what this is, which was a letter from the Rosenbergs to their kids before their execution.
I'm gonna
And they
mute
said,
myself
yeah,
for when I cry. Go ahead.
"Dearest sweethearts, my most precious children, only this morning it looked like we might be together again after all. Now that this cannot be, I want so much for you to know all that I have come to know. Unfortunately, I may write only a few simple words. The rest your own lives must teach you, even as mine taught me. At first, of course, you will grieve bitterly for us, but you will not grieve alone. That is our consolation, and it must eventually be yours. Eventually, too, you must come to believe that life is worth living. Be comforted that even now, with the end of ours slowly approaching, that we know this with a conviction that defeats the executioner. Your lives must teach you, too, that good cannot flourish in the midst of evil, that freedom and all the things that go to make up a truly satisfying and worthwhile life must sometimes be purchased very dearly. Be comforted then that we were serene and understood with the deepest kind of understanding that civilization uh, had not as yet progressed to the point where life did not have to be lost for the sake of life, and that we were comforted in the sure knowledge that others would carry on after us. We wish we might have had the tremendous joy and gratification of living our lives out with you. Your daddy, who is with me in the last momentous hours, sends his heart and all the love that is in it for his dearest boys. Always remember that we were innocent and could not wrong our conscience. We press you close and kiss you with all our strength. Lovingly, Daddy and Mommy. P.S. to Manny. The 10 Commandments, religious medal, and chain, and my wedding ring, I wish you to present to our children as a token of our undying love. Also to Manny, please be certain to give my best wishes to name redacted. Tell him I love and honor him with all my heart. Tell him I want him to know that I feel he shares my triumph. For I have no fear and no regrets, only that the release from the trap was not completely effectuated, and the qualities I possessed could not expand to their fullest capacities. I want him to have the pleasure of knowing how much he meant to me, how much he did to help me grow up. All our love to all our dear ones. Love you so much, Ethel. The Rosenberg trial remains one of the most controversial and scrutinized cases of the Cold War. Many have questioned the legitimacy of Ethel's conviction, particularly after David Greenglass admitted years later that he might have exaggerated or falsified details in his testimony to protect his wife. Additionally, declassified documents from the Verona Project in the 90s confirmed Julius's involvement in espionage, but offered no conclusive evidence against Ethel. This has fueled ongoing debate about the justice of her execution. Now, the Rosenbergs' trial and sentencing have become symbols of Cold War excesses, illustrating how fear and suspicion of communism, or anything really, sometimes outweighs considerations of fairness and due process. Their legacy remains a potent reminder throughout American society, leaving behind an enduring and deeply polarizing story of loyalty, betrayal, and justice. Now, told you that I had a little update from this year, September 23rd, 2024. Wouldn't you know it? Quite recently, news came out regarding the Rosenberg case. The Rosenberg Fund for Children recently announced that the National Security Agency has declassified a 74-year-old document revealing that the U.S. government was aware Ethel Rosenberg was not a Soviet spy long before her trial and execution. According to the RFC, these files reveal that the government, quote, knew Ethel Rosenberg never engaged in espionage for the Soviet Union. The conviction they assert was based on, quote, perjured testimony and both prosecutorial and judicial misconduct. The sole evidence against Ethel, as I said before, came from the testimony of David and Ruth Greenglass, whom the RFC describes as proven liars. The files further state that there was insufficient evidence to indict Ethel and that she was used merely as a level to coerce her husband. Today, the Rosenberg sons, Michael and Robert Maripol, alongside the RFC, see, something that drives me crazy, and I fall into this too, this trap, is that we think about World War II, the Cold War, we think about these things as being hundreds of years ago. Their sons are still alive and thriving. But those two, alongside the RFC, are urging the president to issue a proclamation acknowledging that Ethel was wrongfully convicted and executed. Michael and Robert, who were just 6 and 10 when their parents were executed, seek long-awaited vindication for their mother. Jennifer Maripol, executive director of the RFC and granddaughter of the Rosenbergs, emphasized that the president, quote, has the power to correct this historic injustice, to redress the harm done to my family, and to offer peace to my father and uncle in their lifetimes. She highlighted that the RFC, founded by her father, Robert, nearly 35 years ago, in the honor of his parents, stands as a testament to the support of the progressive community that supported him and his brother when their family was under attack. Together, the RFC and the Maripol family call on the president to act swiftly. I'll be interested to see if that made it through, and within the next couple of months, we get that list of pardons and see what happens. We'll see. I don't know. If he doesn't do it, it's not going to happen for another 4 years, for sure. Well, that's not entirely true, actually. I'll just leave it that way. So, there you have it. You know, it's the Rosenbergs. It's a classic American tale of love, betrayal, and one serious misunderstanding of how far a family business should go. Julius and Ethel went from Brooklyn sweethearts to headline news, wrapped up in a Cold War fever dream where duck and cover was the national dance move, and every other neighbor thought that they were one Jell-O box away from finding a Soviet spy in their basement. I mean, think about it. Mm-hmm.
From the date of their trial, their conviction, when was their execution? Did they have an appeal process?
Yeah. He put in multiple appeals. Those were denied.
But nowadays, people that are convicted for murder with DNA still can sit on death row for 20 years.
All right. March 29th, 1951. They were found guilty. June 19th, 1953 was the date of their execution. 2 years and 2 months.
I mean, I think 20 years is too long, obviously. I don't know what the happy medium is, but
So yeah, so I mean, this whole saga started because Julius probably didn't do this, but Julius was like, honey, I got a hobby. But instead of taking up model trains or podcasting, he chose espionage. Ethel was, I think, suddenly dragged along, finding herself in the world's most intense game of I Spy or Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego. And somehow, typing a few notes led to the electric chair. And let's be honest, in today's world, she'd have been sentenced to endless password resets, not death row.
but why did her brother turn on her?
Because he was trying to save his wife, who was also implicated.
Okay, but your wife over your sister? They obviously did not have a good. I mean, I'm not saying my brother would
I don't know.
protect my life, but he wouldn't intentionally set me up to be, unless there was concrete proof I did something.
Well, here's the thing. Here, I thought about this too, and I thought, why would he even mention her name, anyways? Right? He didn't have to. My justification was this, and I'm not saying it's the right justification. What I'm saying is the FBI was more than willing to imprison and indict Ethel in order to get Julius to say more. So who knows what the hell they said to him about his wife in order to get him to talk. Right. So that's my thought. So after all that drama, the grand finale isn't a bombshell revelation. It's a big fat question mark. Julius was likely the real deal, sure. But Ethel, well, we kind of know now. I don't think that she took ride or die a little too literally. In the end, the Rosenbergs left a legacy of confusion and a lot of uncomfortable questions about justice, and 2 sons who have spent a lifetime advocating for the answers that, well, they may never come. And that's the Rosenbergs.
Yeah. I knew some things about the Rosenbergs. I don't know why, and that's why I didn't look into the case when you said months ago you were going to do this case. I thought it was the opposite. I thought she was the spy and he got drug into it trying to protect his wife. I don't know where I heard that or why I thought that, but
I have no doubt with keeping his, kids in the forefront of his mind that he probably really tried to redirect spotlight away from her.
Right.
However, I really think that the FBI hoped that her being pulled into this would get him to talk more.
Right.
And when it didn't, it became an embarrassment and it was too late. And in order to not admit, they went forward. And I don't know. There's
but
just
the
a lot
death penalty?
there.
The death penalty? Did we not have prison for life then? Did you have to go to the electric chair?
Espionage? Yeah. Espionage, Cold War, that environment, 100%. You were going. I mean, listen, we are. I'm trying not to get on a soapbox, but here's the deal.
I know.
We literally heard just a month ago that because somebody was considered or by somebody's whatever values or morals they have considered a traitor, that they should be placed against a wall in front of 9 guns and shot at.
That's true.
And I don't care what side you're on. It's fine. It's not fine. But what I'm saying is this idea of villainizing and creating this monster
Mhm.
is the goal of it is to bring everybody together to rally against the monster.
Right.
And truly, if you can do that effectively, anybody will
Mhm.
apologize or turn the other way for whatever action you take against that monster. We
Mhm.
saw that in the Holocaust.
Mhm.
We saw that with the Red Scare,
Yeah.
and I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. But that's what I'm saying. So it's
I love
it's something.
Sammy Sunshine posted, I don't know where it went. Oh, it was like burning witches.
Oh, yeah.
A freckle
Yep,
could
that's
make
true.
you a witch. Being a business owner. I mean, that it's that association
I
kind
mean,
of
if you
thing.
didn't like the person and you could somehow come up with something.
Right.
I mean, because they're
Um,
the test for that was if you drowned, you weren't a witch. If you saved yourself because you could swim, you were a witch.
yeah.
You weren't gonna win either way.
I'm surprised that I'm still here and my broomstick is still right here and it hasn't burned up. I don't know how that's happened, but we're both still here.
I knew it. I knew when we started this, when we both hopped into StreamYard, I heard you say, "Another glorious morning." It makes
But
me
I'm
sick.
I'm the good witch.
Oh,
I'm the
well, that's
good
not as
witch.
fun.
I know, but I'm the good witch. Being a witch, and that's the whole point. Being a witch doesn't mean you're bad. You can be a good witch.
I do know plenty of people who do consider themselves witches that are good people. I know plenty of people who consider themselves things that have been villainized that are good people.
I mean, you got to think. I
And
have
it just
family that grew up in Louisiana, Cajun. I didn't know until I got to middle school that voodoo dolls were not a good thing.
yeah.
I mean, I
And
literally
everybody who you had a voodoo doll of for funsies was like, "Oh God, I could have told you that."
I
Um,
didn't know it was all about perception.
yeah. Well, and I cannot emphasize this enough. There are very few times in the history of this country where we have not had a universally, but countrywide recognized enemy. And it's used to bring people together.
Mhm.
And I wonder that if that rhetoric and that didn't exist, if what we had without that would be enough. I
Well,
just don't know. I mean, I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that the good people, I'd like to think that. And I'm not, this is not the Daily Show, but I'm just not sure anymore.
we all, I don't care who you are, what you do, everybody wants somebody to blame, no matter what side you're on. And if we don't have
True.
somebody else to blame, you turn on each other.
It's also true.
And that's why I try, and I keep my chair slipping. I keep saying we all need to realize that because when countries have gone through tough times, whether it be war, economic, it brings people together because they have somebody else that they can come together to be against. And when you don't have
Which is
that,
funny because they should come together to lift everybody up. And
abso-freaking-lutely.
and, and like this is one of those things, and I know this is not I know that this is not like whatever.
I'm like looking
It's one of
around
those
going,
things where it's like you point at somebody and you've got like 3 fingers pointing back at you. So you
Mhm.
really, really, really need to think about the rhetoric you throw out there and what it actually says about you.
Mhm.
Sammy's right.
It is. It's fear-mongering.
That's what it is.
And in my daily life and in my personal life, there's always gonna be problems. There's always gonna be situations. I personally try to attack it as hard on the problem, soft on the person. Because that's what it needs to be. I don't I mean, and I say that, and I've had people say, "Oh, what if somebody is molesting your child?" Okay, that's a different situation. But in everyday situations, you focus on what the problem is. You focus on why it's happening, not the person. The person's still accountable
Right.
for it, but why did it happen? Let's fix that issue because fixing one person isn't going to fix the issue. So if we're hard on the problem and soft on the people, we would get so much further in life, in my pink sparkly opinion.
The
So
the APA, here, I'll put this right onto the chat, the link. The APA has an article that is called "Fear: A Powerful Motivator in Elections," and really, it's not just elections. It doesn't have to be an election year for this, but they talk about how fear can sway opinions,
Mhm.
but knowing the deliberate and strategic ways in which our fears are exploited can help lessen its effects. Right? For instance, fear can be used to drive votes. Quote:
Mhm.
"A large part of politics is getting people to think about things as part of a group." That's from Christopher Federico, PhD, a professor of political science and psychology at the University of Minnesota. Politicians using this strategy must first show that they are best suited to address a specific issue. Once that's established, making people scared about that issue can cause them to seek comfort by joining the ranks of the group perceived as most capable. That does not just have to be politics. That
No,
happens in
it's
cults. That happens in religions. That happens everywhere.
mm,
But it is very salient in
mhm.
politics right now. And so this is not something that is just coming out of my brain or out of my butt, right? um,
Well, if it's
it
coming out of
is
your butt, could you put the video so we could just get that on video? Because we would get a
no,
lot
you
of
don't want to get that.
subscribers and likes for
No,
that.
no, no, no.
Might have to move over to, OnlyFans for that, but
Yeah, so I mean, listen, I did not mean for this to
no.
become like a
Well,
conversation that is
but
bigger, but it is.
it
Um,
is
it is.
because my case has some of the same things on there, and some documents have
Well,
recently been released as well. And I mean, we all knew I was born and raised, grew up in Texas. I've had the honor of living outside of the state for 8 years, but we have the death penalty. I grew up with the death penalty, but there are some times that you should step back and say, wait a minute. Wait just a flippin' minute. You know, we have a case right now, Robert Roberson, that there's a whole big uproar if you haven't heard about it, because he was convicted and sentenced to death for shaking his baby and killing his baby, shaken baby syndrome. But his child was sick and had all of these other things. He had taken the child to the hospital multiple times. And now scientists and medical doctors have come out and said, whoa, 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 this didn't happen. And they still want to put him to death. And in my opinion, just take him off of death, just put him in prison for life until we can figure it out. We shouldn't
I
be so quick to pull that trigger. And that's where
murdering
we need to
murdering
be.
somebody.
I know. And we shouldn't go there. And that's not where, you know what?
No.
We need to do an episode where we talk about our triggers and share with people because this triggers both you and I.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
it's a huge
it,
trigger
it
for me.
it's
The thought of one innocent person being put to death is one too many.
I I can't emphasize enough how either individual or um, group or organizational pride will lead to a poor decision every time. Put the pride aside and think about it for a second. If science has advanced and we have now got all of the, not even that case, but this case, I mean, we're talking about it. So anything, if it has advanced, you need to step back and think about it. And if you're operating off of, well, we spent all this money and all this time, and we the verdict was the
That is the
verdict, and we
wrong.
make sure we want to get it right.
Mm-mm-mm.
I don't
It's
give a
not
shit.
about. Yeah.
You chose to do that, and now it's not their.
Right.
That's the thing. If they could just admit that it's not their fault that science moved on.
And that is the whole thing. We try to teach our kids to be accountable and accept responsibility. I would be so I would just be over myself, and I could even give up wine if they came out and said, "Oh my god, technology, medical science has come so far. We now know that the decision we made based on what we had then was not right. We have come so far, we've learned this. We made the wrong decision."
Sam, you're right. It is hard for a jury to decide that outcome. I will say this, and I can't put myself in the position of a jury member in that kind of a case because I've never been in it, and I can only imagine that you'd have to be in order to fully empathize with that. I think that if I was a jury member and based off of what I had at the time, I made a decision to put somebody to death, and then a couple years later, 10 years later, it came out that maybe this wasn't the case. I would very, very much like somebody to stop the process.
Exactly.
Figure it out. I would not be offended. I would not make a fuss.
No.
I would want to make sure that it was the right thing to do. And I would say that by and large, the majority of juries would be okay with that.
No, and
so
I agree.
It just comes down to ego.
I agree, and I think it comes down to finances because things that we thought back in 1960, we have learned now some of that information wasn't right. I mean, we're growing technology. I mean, I never thought we would be doing something like this on a camera, you where you are, me here, and us talking to all these people. So technology changes, science change, but we have to admit that things change and things progress, and we need to say, "Oh, hold on, we need to go back and apply that to today's standards, to today's science."
And I have a really hard time, just statistically, that 31 to 3,400 people who are on death row, you don't think one of them was wrong? Or you don't think one of them was inappropriately convicted? Maybe they were guilty. Maybe they were guilty, but maybe there were mitigating factors instead of those instigating factors.
Right.
And maybe it wasn't what you thought it was. And it's okay to mature the justice system, just like it's okay to mature the Constitution with society. It is okay. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that anything that happened in history was wrong and that you're scrapping it because you don't respect it. You respect it, and because you respect it, you update it.
Right.
Because you want it to continue to live on appropriately. And I've drank too much, and I should probably stop so you can do your case.
No, but like Judge Perry told us, there are people who deserve to meet their makers sooner than later. I am not saying that I am against that. What I'm saying is if somebody has been convicted and they are on death row and new information, science, technology, if something comes forward and there is 1.001% chance that you need to look at things again, we need to own it, stop what we're doing, and say, "Hey, I'm not saying you're not going to be put to death. I'm going to say that we're going to go back and check again and put it against today's standards." That's all I'm asking people to do.
Judge Perry was so fun to talk to because I think that Casey Anthony displays the middle of the line there, right? I think that if you look at the evidence, they could not prove how. They could not. There were things they could not prove.
Right.
Judge Perry was very convinced that she did it. He believed that she should have the death penalty.
Because he knows things that we
However,
don't know.
He does. And so I am more than apt to agree with him.
I agree.
But
But
like he would have been fine. I would have been fine. People would have been fine if the prosecution wouldn't have been on their high horse thinking they would have nailed the case
Abso-freaking-lutely.
and put in the manslaughter, right? And that is something where, as context is everything. If you don't
Mhm.
think that you've done the job, and if your ego doesn't get in the way, you are willing to put that instruction
Mhm.
in order to make sure that she is convicted because she did do it. And maybe it's not exactly what you were looking for, and maybe it wasn't the death penalty,
But you got
but like that's a
justice.
middle of the road case. That is a great example of this. And I don't.
We
It
have
is not
lost getting
death or nothing.
justice. It's right. It's not win or lose. It's about justice at the end of the day. I mean, if I was on that jury, I would not have sentenced her to death based on what they put forward. They should have given something else because I would have convicted her and put her ass in jail.
And like, I will talk more about this on Sunday with Richard Allen. It's a whole thing. But
We're
you
both
know what?
getting
I will
worked
talk
up.
about this
I'm
on
like, I got to
Sunday
remove
for
my
Richard Allen.
blanket. I'm getting all hot. But yeah,
I'm gonna let you start, and then I will
Okay.
be right back in like a minute, and I will have taken a breath.
Okay, you go take a breath, and then I will get into my lady. So, guys, if you're new here, you don't know this about me, but if you're not new here, you're going to know. I really like strong women. In this case, we've had this on the books for like 6 months, and I have been just waiting for us to get to it because this is a case about a woman who was a strong woman. She did things that she needed to do to survive during a bad time. I'm not going to say she always made the right decisions, but let's just get into it. And I'm going to warn you up front, there is a lot of European and German words, and I am a Texas girl. So I'm going to do my best. But Margaretha Gertruda Zella's early life was a complex tapestry of privilege, loss, and the search for her identity. Now, she was born August 7th, 1876. Guys, that was a long freaking time ago. In Leeuwarden, the Netherlands. No, Margaretha, she was later called Margaret, but she preferred to go by Margaretha. So I'm going to try to stick to that. She was the eldest of 4 children in a family that enjoyed considerable affluence. Her father, Adam Zell, was a successful hatter. And if you don't know what a hatter is, they make those great little hats. But he also made shrewd investments in the oil industry. And the financial prosperity allowed Margaretha and her siblings to experience a childhood that many would envy, even in today's times. Okay. So, they had things that others didn't. She attended exclusive schools and she lived in a comfortable, well furnished home surrounded by the trappings of a bougie lifestyle. Now, y'all know I wrote that because I like the word bougie, but we would call it in today's time, they were upper class. The kids were going to exclusive private schools, but this I can't even speak. This wealthy existence began to unravel when Margaretha was just 13 years old. In 1889, her dad, Adam Zell, declared bankruptcy, a blow that stripped the family of its wealth, but also destabilized its social standings. We have to remember when you get to a certain level in society, they care about that crap. They are not like us that if my neighbor had to file bankruptcy, I'd be like, you're still a great person. They didn't do that back then. So the bankruptcy was followed by the divorce of her parents. And back then, that was very rare, guys. So it was so rare and it was stigmatized. I mean, in the 19th century, you didn't do that. Marguerite's mother, I am sorry for slaughtering her name, Anjane van der Meulen. I think I did okay. She died shortly thereafter in 1891, leaving Margarita and her siblings in what we would now call a dysfunctional environment. And with her life in disarray, Marguerite was sent to live with her godfather, Mr. Weiser. Now, there she began her education at her teacher training school because she wanted to be a kindergarten teacher. Guys, I'm going to just tell you right now, I said this recently on Midday Missing. Anyone that wants to be a kindergarten teacher is a saint in my eyes.
Right.
I mean, let's
Yes.
just be honest. My 5-year-old grandson's getting ready to come for 10 days, and I'm like, holy smackers. That's a lot of time I got to fill. So can you imagine having
Right.
10, 11, 12 of them?
No.
Because I don't think you can drink
No.
at school.
No. But, well,
Well,
some have shown that you
you
can,
have shown. Yeah.
but you shouldn't.
But you
But-
shouldn't. You shouldn't. Like, I will not be partaking in the wine while he's here as much. But guys, however, her time at school was cut short because the headmaster began to do inappropriate things towards her. And I have to tell you, my first thought was I knew men were perverts and I knew they've always had these desires. But freaking way back then, they couldn't even control themselves when society looked at them more than we do now. I mean, I found that a little bit shocking. Maybe it's just me. Maybe. But this incident marked the first of many occasions where her appearance and allure would impact her life. Now, her godfather was very concerned about her safety. He did the right thing. He removed her from the school. Kudos to him. And she wound up moving to, I have done the pronunciation thing 5 times, and I'm still not going to say it right. The Hague.
Hold on.
Hague.
Where is
Hog.
it? Where is it? I wasn't looking at the script because I didn't want to.
H-A-E-U-E.
Haeue.
Yeah. Hog, Hogue, I don't know. Hogue. We're just going to go with Hogue. Like a hoagie.
A hoagie. I like it. It's very
I'm gonna
American.
go with that.
Ugh.
To live with her uncle. Now, sadly, this ended her formal education. And I can't help but think if you're a female in that time and you have that happen to you, would you really want to go to school somewhere else? Mom died. Would you? But that being said, that led her to the life that she wound up living, that when she was born was a life that no one could have ever imagined for her. So in 1895,
Captain said it's AG.
hey G, I could say, hey G.
We've got our live fact checker, which I do not say flippantly. Thank you.
Thank you, because that is
Great.
not what the little pronunciation tool I found on the Goog said. So I appreciate that. Now,
unless she meant Hague. Hague. I think she meant Hague. I don't think she meant Hague. She's probably sitting there screaming at the screen right now. We totally mispronounced everything that she hooked on Pahonic to us. So,
I'm going to just put this out there. If you watch the Hey Ho show on last Friday, my second most embarrassing moment is now out there in internet history. You will see my pronunciation's not be good when there's alcohol or drugs involved. It's okay. But it is a little ditty about Terry and JT. But anyway.
You mean pain meds that are prescribed. You don't mean drugs. She wasn't hitting acid, y'all.
I wasn't. I did successfully pass my kidney stone, but yes, I was on prescribed narcotics that were required. Anyway.
You were on Cloud Percocet.
Yes, I was. And I still had pain. But
I believe it.
But at the age of 18, her life took another dramatic turn when she responded to a newspaper advertisement placed by Captain Rudolph McLeod, a Dutch colonial officer stationed. Why did you laugh? McLeod?
Yes, McLeod. It is.
McLeod. I'm going to call him McLeod.
A porn character.
You will know why I'm calling him McLeod.
Does he have a dollar menu?
That was intentional.
I believe you.
So he was stationed in the Dutch East Indies, which is now Indonesia. McLeod was significantly older than Marguerite, and he was seeking a wife. Yes. And Marguerite was looking for stability and an escape from everything that had gone on. The couple wed in Amsterdam on July 11th, 1985. And soon after, Marguerite found herself in the Dutch East Indies. Guys, she didn't know anyone. Okay. And the thing that shocked me, I didn't know they had mail order brides back in 1898. Did you? I didn't know you could still put in a little word item.
Could in any point in time, if a man could post something, yes, you totally could. Because
how did it get from East End? I mean, I didn't know they had international newspapers back then. I've been living under a rock. He was
sorry, I might have missed this. Was this fella prominent? Was the person doing the mail order prominent?
Captain. And he was a captain, yes.
So he was in a circle that knew about this stuff, probably. Right? He's probably not the first person. But yeah.
I didn't know. Lady in Gray just said, have you ever? No, I have never seen Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
The musical nerd in me is so happy right now.
Do I need to put that on my list?
I mean, it's a classic. And by classic, I mean literally a classic. So.
Okay. And I guess I should preface it. I was not allowed to watch a lot of TV growing up. I didn't see Old Yeller.
Oh, this was.
Until my 20s.
I didn't either. Seven Brides for Seven Brothers came out in 1954. You wouldn't have seen it.
But I mean, so I wasn't raised to be into all of that stuff. You know.
Yeah.
I remember my first big TV show was, oh my God, my grandmother's rolling over in her grave that I cannot name it. The Thornbirds. That is the first movie I remember seeing besides Snow White. What does that tell you? Yeah. But so their marriage was seen as a step up for her because elevating her into the Dutch upper class, and it did provide her financial security again that she lost once her dad filed bankruptcy. However, the reality of life with Mr. McLeod was far from the romantic escape that she had fantasized about. McLeod was an alcoholic with a violent temper, and their relationship became abusive. So he took the low road. And that's why he is
The low
McLeod
road load.
instead of McLeod. So
I like it.
that was intentional. So, as most piece of shit husbands, he frequently blamed Marguerite for his lack of career advancement, and he took out his frustrations on her. Now,
What a
as we know, most people still have children in that situation. She had 2 children, a son named Jorman John, born in 1897, and a daughter named Louise Jean, born in 1898. Now, like I said, the life in the Dutch East Indies was a shock for her. Okay. It was rich culture, traditions, exotic landscape, and she even immersed herself in learning the customs and the languages, which I find fascinating because back then they didn't want women to learn too much, right?
I mean, look what happened.
Yeah. But she adopted the name.
Don't trim that. Nobody trim that. Nobody. If you know me, I don't believe that.
I know, but
I'm
not gonna
sorry. I
trim
had
that.
to laugh.
That's funny. She adopted the name Mata Hari, which means sun or eye of the day in Indonesian.
That's really
Now,
pretty.
what's fascinating? She would later use this as her stage name as she transformed from a Dutch housewife into the mysterious figure that would captivate Europe and all of us today.
When did you want me to show this photo?
Not yet.
Not
I'll
yet.
tell you
Okay,
what.
just making sure.
Not
I
yet.
just don't want. I don't want to miss my spot.
No. I will always set you up to be successful.
I know. I believe it. That's why we're so
Always.
great together.
Yes.
We go
Now,
together like Ram Lama Dama. Sorry, Grease. Continuing the
oh,
theme.
there's the groups like that. So, despite her attempts to get in with the local culture, her marriage continued to deteriorate. And I'm going to say it's his fault, not hers. I do not have facts stating that, but considering he was an alcoholic and violent in the times, I'm going to just say it was his fault. But the final blow came in 1899 when tragedy struck the family. Both of their children fell seriously ill. And although the official cause was related to complications from syphilis, which both parents had contracted, the family maintained that his servant had poisoned the children in retaliation for some perceived slight. Norman John did not survive. While Louise Jean recovered, it marked the end of their beginning, the end of their marriage. Now, I'm going to just tell you guys, I did go down a syphilis loophole when I read this. So back then, they treated syphilis with mercury. So why would you think a child would survive? The fact that Luis survived is miraculous.
Do you know who else had syphilis?
Who?
Bram Stoker had syphilis.
Oh, really?
Adolf Hitler was suspected to have syphilis. Al
was to
Capone
say
absolutely 100% died from syphilis.
But there we go again. Back then, we didn't have the medical technology to fix it or the medical science. Now we know.
Captain said, a lot of people had it.
Apparently, a lot of people had it when I went down the little thing because it wasn't easily detected and you didn't find it until it was too late and it had already been spread. But now we have medication to fix that. But back then they didn't. So the couple returned to the Netherlands where they separated and they divorced in 1906. I just saw someone retracting my answer for security purposes.
Yeah.
Okay, Belle. So Marguerite was awarded custody of their daughter. However, it's not a new thing. Her ex-husband refused to pay court-ordered child support. See where I keep saying we keep fighting all this shit that we know? It was happening back then and it's still happening now. So, eventually, Louise Jean was taken by her father during a visit, leaving Marguerite without the means or the will to fight for her return. So basically, Dad took her after a visit and never returned her, knowing that she did not have the resources to fight it.
Sorry. Yes.
What was that look for?
Well,
Are you Googling on the side?
Bell said, don't research how they found out how to cure syphilis because it's heartbreaking. And I found, and Bell's can confirm or not, the first significant breakthrough in treating syphilis came with the discovery of salvarsan, which is an arsenic-based compound developed by Paul Ehrlich in 1910, which was considered a magic bullet for the disease. I'm going to go with no, but apparently in order to do it, they tested 606, which was the compound, over on mice, guinea pigs, and then rabbits. But I have a feeling Bells knows something else. Maybe. Oh, you're talking about the Tuskegee experiment. That's right.
Oh,
You're right.
shit. That was for syphilis?
Researchers provided no effective care as the study's African-American participants experienced several health problems, including blindness, mental impairment, or death. Yep. Thank you. Oh, boy. All right. That's another episode. We should do an episode on crimes with health.
Go add that to the sheet because we will forget in 5 minutes because it's JT and Terry. Now, after the collapse of her marriage, Marguerite found herself alone and financially destitute, like a lot of single women find after they marry somebody above them. Just going to say that. In 1903, she moved to Paris, a city known for its bohemian culture and artistic freedom. It was here that she would reinvent herself as Mata Hari, the exotic dancer and courtesan, which is a fancy word for an upper class prostitute, their words, who would take Europe by storm. Yes.
It reminds me of Moulin Rouge.
It does.
There was a girl, a very strange and special.
Why don't you show the picture of her? Because, guys, she is beautiful. I now know why her godfather took her out of the school after the headmaster, whatever the teacher was, who did bad things. She was stunning. Do you remember how to share screen? There she is. But I mean, but also look at that outfit. That is very risque in 1903. I mean, but she was beautiful. But Paris was at the turn of the century. It was a city of contrast. While it was the center of arts and culture, it was also a place where many struggled to survive, kind of like America today. Sorry, that was not appropriate. No, I don't apologize. Marguerite initially found work as a circus horse rider, performing under the name of Lady MacLeod, a nod to her former married life. See, she gets MacLeod. He gets MacLeod. But, however, This was not see, Terry does things intentionally, and normally I don't call him out. I just let people think I'm a fool. So,
You are not.
however, that was not enough to support herself. So she also posed as an artist model to make ends meet. But in 1905, her big break hit when she debuted as an exotic dancer at the Musée Guimet, a museum in Paris. If Sean is watching, I apologize for the way I just pronounced that. But it was a museum in Paris dedicated to Asian art and culture. Her performances, which combine elements of Indonesian dance with her own creative interpretations, were unlike anything Parisian audiences had seen before. Now, Mata Hari's act involved a slow, sensual dance in which she gradually removed layers of clothing, revealing an exotic costume that left little to the imagination. This provocative style captivated audiences and made her an overnight sensation. So, guys, I'm going to just tell you what I learned in my research that sex sells even back in the 1900s. She gave the allure of being naked. She was never naked. She was not topless. She was not all nude in a bar, but she gave that allure. And I think that's something important to think about. We always think that pure naked is what's intriguing. Sometimes it's just the allure of what you don't show. Leave a little bit to the imagination, just a little bit, in my opinion. Now, she rose to fame immediately. She became the darling of Parisian society, performing for aristocrats, politicians, and wealthy industrialists. So, what does that tell you right there? If they were inviting her, they didn't find it quite so shocking, right? So, but they did say her allure was not just in her dance, but in the mystique that she created around herself. She was the original Victoria's Secret because she knew how to keep the secret. Because my
Victoria doesn't have too
grandmother,
many secrets left.
that's what my mom all said. She's like, yeah, Victoria
Oh
doesn't have
no,
very
I
many
stole it. I'm
secrets.
sorry. I didn't mean to take it from you.
No, that's okay. You are just fine. So she claimed to be I think it's pronounced Havanas princess. We're just going to go with it. Raised
Yeah.
in the temples of the East and trained in the sacred dance of Hindu gods. The backstory, which was entirely fabricated, played into the Western fascination with the exotic and added to her appeal. Her performances were seen as both erotic and spiritual, a combination that intrigued and scandalized her audiences. As her fame grew, so did her connections with powerful men. Of course it did. So Mata Hari became a courtesan, maintaining relationships with high-ranking military officers, diplomats, and politicians across Europe. These relationships provided her with financial security and further elevated her status in society. So she, in my thought, was the first madame or woman, working lady, before it just lost my mind because I didn't write it down. The Chicken Ranch, Dolly Parton. I can't think of I can't think of the name of the movie, guys.
Oh,
Help me
somebody in
because I
here
live
is no.
right down the road. 24 miles till we get to heaven. Anyway, so she became that. So she was accepted into society, which normally women in that category are not. So that tells you she was something special because Dolly Parton's character in the Chicken Ranch movie that I can't think of, she was accepted. But best little whorehouse. Oh, best little hoe house in Texas.
No,
Thank
it's
you, Lady in
whorehouse.
Gray.
It's
I
whorehouse.
know, but I didn't know if we were allowed to say that word.
Again, Hey Ho Show is on this channel. We're okay.
Okay. If you haven't seen that movie, I would recommend everybody see it because Dolly's just great in it. But however, it also exposed her to the dangers of the international intrigue, particularly as Europe moved closer to war. With the outbreak of World War I in 1914, Mata Hari's life took a dangerous turn. As a Dutch national, she was able to travel freely across borders, which was a privilege that most couldn't claim. However, her frequent travels and her high profile connections soon attracted attention of various intelligence agencies who began to suspect that she might be involved in espionage. They thought she was trading secrets instead of her body. Let's just call a spade a spade. But I mean, the war did create a climate of suspicion and fear where even the most innocent actions could be interpreted as treasonous.
I would like to, it's a trope, I know at this point, or a cliche in my scripts, but I would like to say, tale as old as time. I'm just saying, like,
I just almost spit out
there
that
is
line.
no, there's no better explanation of those who don't understand history are doomed to repeat it than the scripts that I usually do, because in so many, at least 80%, that phrase can be used. So here we are.
Now, Sammy Says reminds me of the Reba song Fancy. I will tell you, Sammy, that is the only song I will ever do on karaoke because it is the only song I can carry a tune on.
Coming to you live the next time that Terry and I are together. Fancy by Reba.
Okay, as long as I'm not on Percocet or pain meds.
That's exactly when it should happen.
No, no. Nope. But she had a glamorous lifestyle and she had a mysterious persona because she wasn't yapping all of her secrets. Women today, me included, I tell it all. Like Double H knows if I ever was to make a mistake and kiss a guy or cheat on him, I am the type of woman that would come home and tell him. I would walk in the door. I would walk in the door and tell. I can't keep a secret. I've kept 2 secrets in my life. One was an engagement and one was about a baby. Now, when I say that, I can keep a secret from the person who shouldn't know, but I'm going to tell Double H everything. We don't have secrets. He has secrets. And I don't have secrets.
Oh, now hold on a second. Shade thrown. Shade thrown.
Well, I only say that because he's never looked me in the eye and said, I have no secrets from you.
I mean, maybe he's just uncomfortable with eye contact.
He ain't got no secrets.
I
know. He ain't got no secrets because he knows I know where the shovel is. I know how to get rid of him.
It's one of my favorite signs I saw this year during Halloween. No trespassing. We'll have a hard time finding a spot for your body.
That's right. No. So,
oh, God.
Now, Mata did have another significant relationship during the war. It was with Captain Vadim Maslov, a young Russian officer serving with the French army.
Sounds like a character in Indiana Jones.
But could somebody explain to me? A young Russian serving with the French army? I know. But he was severely wounded in 1916, and he did lose sight in one eye.
Well, one-eyed Willie.
She was desperate to see him. I thought that was funny. He couldn't see her. She could see him. Anyway. So I'm not funny. I am not funny. We all know I'm not funny.
No. I am 2 extremely high percentage beers in, and I'm slow is what I am.
That's not what Carrie says. Anyway, Mata sought permission to visit him at the front, a request that brought her into contact with French intelligence. Got anything to say?
Nope.
Okay. So, of course, the French were aware of her connections and her ability to move
The
across
French
borders.
connection. I did have something to say.
Yes, and they saw this as an opportunity to use her as a spy. They approached her with a proposition. In exchange for being allowed to visit Maslov, Mata Hari would spy for France.
So
Specifically, uh-huh,
she was being propositioned rather than the
she
other way
was.
around.
She was. They wanted her to seduce the German crown prince Wilhelm and extract military secrets from him. You know, like pillow talk?
Oh, it's just what happens before and or after that is
Mhm.
the problem.
Yes. But they were unaware that the crown prince was more of a figurehead than a real military leader. Now, Mata agreed to the proposal, believing it would bring her closer to her love, Maslov. Like I said, Wilhelm was just a figurehead. I also need to say her involvement in espionage is still a matter of debate. Some sources suggest that she did pass information to both the French and the Germans. So she was playing both sides. It was a double-ended
She
thing.
was an equal opportunity spy.
Exactly. So
To be celebrated.
exactly. I love somebody I can't see. Oh, Belle said that is known as the honey trap. Exactly. Now, the value of this information is questionable. Others argue that she was simply a pawn used by both sides to get what they wanted. What is clear is that by 1917, Mata Hari became a liability for French intelligence, who began to see her as a potential double agent. What is it?
Lady
He
in
who
Grace.
pays plays. Yep.
Yeah.
That's why Double H knows never to play because he will pay. And while we're at that, I just need to say, I would not kill him. I've been married 2 other times. I would not kill Double H for cheating on me. I would not.
I was gonna say, I feel like there are some other candidates that are in line ahead of him.
But if Double
So
H ever made that bad decision, there is this thing called Gorilla Super Glue that you can put on their hands while they're sleeping, and you can put it on their manhood. One hand on the manhood and one on the little jiggly balls. That is much better than murder.
one on the little jiggly balls.
And he is well
He's
aware
just
of that.
really into ping pong, okay?
And he has known about that from day one, so I'm not concerned. Yeah, murder's too easy. But Mata was arrested on February 13th, 1917, the day before Valentine's Day. You think that's
Wow.
I find that interesting. She was taken into custody at the Hotel Elysee Palace in Paris and charged with espionage for Germany. Now, the trial that followed was one that was probably the most sensational of the war because she was cast as the ultimate femme fatale. They hadn't met Terry True Crime yet.
Pom pom pom.
So she was considered an unscrupulous woman who used her charm and beauty to betray her adopted country. Anyway, however, the evidence was largely circumstantial. The most damaging piece was a series of intercepted German radio messages that referred to a spy code named H21. French intelligence identified H21 as Mata Hari. However, There were significant doubts about the reliability of this evidence. There were not a lot of female spies. So for them to automatically
No,
assume H21 is a female,
uh, it seems convenient.
it does to me because somebody wanted her taken down
Yeah,
and disposed of, in my
yeah.
opinion. So the messages were sent using a code that the Germans knew had been compromised, leading some to believe that they were intended to frame her as a double agent. Yeah. Now, during her trial, her defense was severely limited. Her lawyer, Edward Clunet, was not allowed to cross examine witnesses or present his own evidence. So, what in the hell? How is that a trial?
Where were we at again?
In Paris. In 1917. I mean, why have a defense attorney if they are not allowed to defend you? If you can't question people and you can't bring up your own witnesses, why the hell is somebody getting paid? That's like
If you
weathermen who don't do their job.
if you can't put forth a reasonable defense, like Odinites murdered somebody instead of somebody else, what's the point? It's still happening today, just in a different way.
It is in a different way. But back then, we weren't as knowledgeable as we are today. I find it more offensive today.
Fair.
But the prosecution was led by Captain Pierre Bouchardon. And my next question is, why does everybody have to be a captain? He's a freaking attorney. Can we just not say he's a solicitor? Because that's what they were called over there. But he painted Mata as manipulative, morally corrupt woman who used her body to gain influence and sell secrets. He argued that her very femininity was proof of her guilt, describing her as a born spy who was without scruples and accustomed to making use of men.
So demonizing.
So, because of the way she looks and she was born, that automatically proved her guilt. Could somebody please explain that to me? Anybody?
Make it make sense.
I mean, because they said she was accustomed to making use of men. I believe men used her. She learned how to use what she was learned when she was in school, and that headmaster tried to make a move on her. She learned to use her feminine wiles to become a successful exotic dancer.
Yep.
So now the trial, people say, was more about creating a scapegoat than seeking justice. Still happens today in 2024. In 1917, France was reeling from military failures, including the disastrous Nivelle offense and widespread mutinies within the French army. The country was on the verge of a collapse, and the government needed someone to blame. So, why not pull out Mata Hari with her foreign origins, her connections to the enemy, and her scandalous lifestyle? It's the perfect target. But it wasn't scandalous when everybody was paying to see her, right? I mean, they raised her to her level, and now all of a sudden it's scandalous because it didn't work for them.
Yep. I mean, this is what it is. I mean, this is the whole thing, you know. You set somebody up, and then when it's convenient, and to be honest with you, you set them up with the purpose of if it ever becomes convenient.
Exactly.
I mean, that seems to be half the situation these days. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Tale as old as time.
That is becoming, yeah. But on July 24th, day after my birthday, but I wasn't born in 1917, she was found guilty of espionage and sentenced to death. Throughout the trial, she maintained her innocence, insisting that she had never spied for Germany and that any money she had received from German officials was payment for her service as a courtesan, not as a spy. Her pleas fell on deaf ears. So basically, she's saying, they paid me to do a job. I did the job. I didn't sell secrets. I sold my body. So once again, they are penalizing her for what the men asked for.
Oh, can I tell you? I've said this many times, not just tonight. I hate men.
I hate most men.
Okay, I hate most men.
There's a few, like Double H I'll keep.
It does explain how, did I hate myself? So maybe I do hate all. Most, all, I don't know.
But would you say that you are 100% man? Oh, our light just went out. It must be 11 o'clock.
Ooh.
Alexa, turn on pink.
No.
Yes, my light's called pink.
I'll say no.
So
I would say no, I am not. Not 100%.
You know what my shirt says? It says, dogs make me happy. Humans make my head hurt. It's not just men. It's just humans.
Except on Mondays, it's me.
Can it be me on Wednesdays?
Okay, we'll share custody.
Now, sadly, they executed Mata by a firing squad on October 15th, which is Double H's birthday, in 1917.
Ooh.
But are you ready for this? She refused to be blindfolded and faced her executioners with courage and dignity. She reportedly blew a kiss to the soldiers before they fired, which to me was a big...
I had never heard of this story until just now, but I would call her the most badass that I've ever.
She
cool.
Was born into wealth. Wealth was lost. Got married, went through tumultuous marriage, was beaten, child died. This woman suffered trauma and still tried to, come out on top. Now, her body was not claimed by her family. And it was, are you ready for this? Was used for medical research. Her head was preserved and displayed in the Museum of Anatomy in Paris. However, it was stolen sometime in the mid-20th century and is still missing to this day.
What? Huh?
Uh-huh. Her family never claimed her because she became a courtesan. And they sold it, and someone decapitated her. And if you Google her name, you can see the museum and there's picture. Yeah. But it's now missing. So, but her execution marked the end of her life. But guys, it launched her in legend. JT, you hadn't heard of her, but a lot of people have. In the years following her execution, she became a symbol of the dangers of seductive femininity, with a warning of the consequences for women if you are too attractive, too sensual, outside of your home or your bedroom. And her story has been retold. There's books, there's films, there's plays, and they do call her the femme fatale, a woman whose beauty and sexuality made her both irresistible and dangerous. Now, grab your seat. In 2017, the French government declassified over 1,200 pages of documents related to her trial. And these documents provide a whole lot of information. It includes that the facts that much of the evidence used against her were circumstantial and outright fabricated. People lied. They just wanted to blame somebody. Yeah. Now, there are renewed calls for her exoneration. And they say that it's highlighted the extent to which she has shaped the political and the social context of her time, but they are still trying to get her exonerated for being innocent because
Well,
the information that was fabricated, she was not a spy.
it's not the U.S., it's France.
It's
So
not.
chances are, if they push hard enough, they will retreat.
Yeah.
That was offensive. I'm kidding. It was a joke. I
It was
don't
a joke.
actually mean that. But yeah. That's infuriating and amazing how, like, 40 years later, here it happens again.
I mean, look at her. She was a woman. She defied the conventions of her time. She lived life on her own terms. And she became the casualty of a world at war, but also to men who wanted to take her down. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I said the whole thing about France and retreat, but then I remember that Lafayette kind of saved our ass. So
I know it's kind of like you got to get the scale out, right?
here's the thing. I'm an equal opportunity offender, but not in a way that would get us canceled. So take that as you will.
No. And I mean, I try to think. I'm not saying she was a spy or she wasn't a spy, even though they're saying these documents prove she wasn't. Look at how far she came from being raised in privilege, lost privilege, cast out from society, went to live with somebody. Then she's sexually assaulted in school. Then she winds up marrying a guy at 18 who beat her, did all of these things. She had 2 kids. One of the kids dies. Then the other one gets taken from her because she got divorced, had no money. I mean, she did what she needed to do to take care of herself. In today's time, we say that pretty people, your beauty can get you really far ahead and you will succeed. Her beauty somewhat caused her to be killed because everybody liked her, wanted to talk to her. They assumed she was playing both sides. So, and I'm only using this because it's so relevant right now. That would be saying if I was a beautiful young woman and I was talking to Republicans and Democrats, I must be a spy for both sides, so I must be killed. Why can't I be just a pretty female that is nice and kind to people? Why do I have to be a spy just because I talk to both sides?
Right.
So,
I mean,
that was my case.
I'm trying to look something up.
So Sammy said they were intrigued by her, but then they wanted to hate her for who she was. Abso-freaking-lutely. I think men were intrigued with her self-confidence and the fact that she could do these dances. She was sensual. Mind you, she wasn't naked. She was in a bikini, for God's sake, but she did it in such a way that she owned her body. She was confident in it. And the guys were intrigued by that. But then they persecuted her for that because she didn't do what she was told, when she was told, and why she was told. I love it when you get that scowl and you get the Tom Selleck crack on your forehead.
Oh, do I?
You do, and I'm like, I so see Tom Selleck.
There's a piece of me
Just a
that
piece?
is
Can I
true.
have my leg?
And those that say no, they're lying. There's just there is so much of her that reminds me of the character in Moulin Rouge.
Mhm.
And I'm trying so desperately to find a connection somewhere.
I haven't. I tried the rabbit hole.
So there has to be some unspoken or
I even went down the
unconscious,
rabbit hole
like,
of Pretty
thing.
Woman.
Mm,
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I went down those rabbit holes. So, no.
Fascinating. You know, it's so funny. I think, number one, I think this topic was timely, and we didn't even
As
mean
I
for it
said,
to
we
be.
picked this months ago, and we were actually supposed to have recorded this back in September.
Yeah. I also think that we needed this, which is why this episode really resembles our old form, which is longer.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
we did.
I think we've done pretty good
You lasted
sticking to,
longer
like,
tonight.
2 Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. I'll look for my flowers in the mail.
I didn't get a pearl necklace, so you're not getting flowers.
I was about to say I get more flamboyant with the more I drink, but that took the cake right there. So maybe we should end on that.
I think I heard Double H in the background.
Did he say, huh?
Before we go, we need to announce the party. 1,000 subscribers
Yes, I'm gonna
in
let
our
you
last
do that.
episode of the year. Why me? Okay, I will. So,
Because you've got the specifics.
okay. Yeah, and I've drank less. So, December 16th, it is a Monday. I think it's a Monday. It's a Monday. It will be our final episode of the year, and it will be our 1,000 subscriber party. And guys, we know we've been putting out a video of what we're going to do. We have some unhinged stuff. So you're going to want to be here to join us. Not only is JT going to do his makeup lesson, he is going to eat the hot sauce. I am going to one of my besties' house who went to culinary school. She is going to cook me food that I don't eat, because there's a lot. I don't eat lamb. I don't eat deer. There's just a lot of things I don't eat. She has carte blanche to make what she wants. Back when True Crime and Wine Time started, before JT and I hooked up, she was a guest multiple times on the show. So she's been a friend of the show for a long time. And we are going to announce some new shows that are coming in the new year. And guys, there's going to be some new hosts that are coming. You will have someone.
New shows. New genres. We are. You don't. So
we're off the diet. We're growing.
We are growing. And Leon's getting larger. That's what Airplane taught me. Here's the thing. I'm really excited because I knew that, like, the bookmark was going to be 1,000, and usually 1,000 is just like that's like the linchpin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that by December 16th we are at 1,100 or more. We hit 1,000 and then surged to 1,048, and so pushing, and I
That's
do
what
want
she
to
said.
I do want to say this, and because of you all, mods, staff, all the hard work, within the last 28 days, we have received over 25,000 more views than usual. We have received 200 and almost 270 more hours viewed than usual. 112 more subscribers than usual. These are things that you all we do put the content out there, and yes, we're the we put our I really struggle saying figurehead now. But
You're ahead.
like no, but like
No.
it's because of you all. And
Right.
and this couldn't happen without you, and we do this for you. I don't think in my however many years I've known you, Terry, that you have ever said, I want. Yes, we want this to be successful, but we want
We
it to be
want.
successful for you all.
Mhm.
And you all are our focus. The audience is our
Mhm.
focus. And we are willing to listen to any feedback and all feedback, but you all have been so gracious. And I just encourage you to continue to share and to push this out to more people. I think
I
we've
have
got
bad news.
something.
I have bad
Oh
news for
boy.
you. We have something
Oh no.
else.
Are we
Maybe we
breaking
didn't
up?
tell you this. No, we're not breaking up. We
Okay.
also, on that special show, December 16th, you can all email us questions to be asked of me and JT. We will answer any question you send. There is no topic that we will not answer unless you ask us if we've killed somebody. So, other than that, we will answer all questions. You can email me, JT, or Llama, our producer, and get those to us. Those questions will be asked and we will answer them. So, JT, do you agree to answer any question, no matter how difficult the topic?
You know, when it comes to pride and dignity, I have none. So of course I agree.
So, you can ask us anything. And we're going to have some special guests, some friends of the show. So we are talking to some fellow podcasters that we met at the podcast festival, some podcasters that before we started live streaming that we did like some Justice League stuff with back in the day. Maybe some families from
Oh
Midday
man,
Missing. And we
this feel
might
like so
even
long
get,
ago.
I know. Do you not remember 4.5 years ago, us doing the episode of the cheerleader mom, and you were just a guest on True Crime and Wine Time, and we were talking about my mom, Mama Bear, and the card came fluttering down while we were talking on a shelf. I was so disappointed that I went to go pull that video because we were on Zoom back then. We had no, I mean, we still don't have money, but we really didn't have money then. And I deleted them all for space on the drive. But that is the
There,
moment I knew you and I were meant to be. That was my mom's blessing that we were good.
there are very few things in this world that have convinced me of uh further life later, right?
Agreed.
Uh and I am always and I have prided myself on always being skeptical because that's when
Oh,
you
I
ask
am a
questions and
skeptic.
go further, right? But that moment, like with no reason whatsoever, no fan, no earthquake, no nothing.
I was in my
Just
closet then.
yep,
I was in the closet with the door shut
yep.
and the card was in a closed box.
Sammy's right. It's a little ditty about JT and Terry.
You know what? One day we should learn, like practice, and we could actually learn to sing it, and I could learn to get on key. But it would helps if you have music to it.
I mean, I'll play the guitar and I'll record the music, and then he just toss it out there. All right. Oh boy. Oh wait,
So
hold on. Your
Belle,
mother was an Indianette. Who are you talking to? Was your
talking
mother
about
an
Mama Bear. My grandmother was. I don't think my mom was. And I've got cousins
So she's
because
not
yes,
wrong.
I can still say scalp. Wait, INDIANS, scalp 'em, Indian, scalp 'em. So yes, I can still sing the song. Double H is back there in his office. He's like, "What are you doing? You're singing
Yeah, he's
again."
like, this is not your brand. Get back on
He's like,
brand.
he's like, "You need to stick to country, girl, and you need to not be drinking when you do it." So we have
Right.
all of those exciting things. I will tell you one of the things I'm most excited about is the new shows and that we have new hosts who are joining the podcasting world.
There you if you don't know this about me yet, there is
Uh-oh.
nothing I love more than we should do that, but mine will never show up. I promise you.
But she could, because we could do like I was gonna do for Monkey Butt, I was going to do a cutout of a smiley face for her to hold because I don't want her on camera. We could do that for Carrie.
For those of us who do have public speaking anxiety and or are very introvert, a cutout does not help because there's
So
still verbal communication that is
maybe
necessary.
we could just record it, the 4 of us when we're together or the 3 of us.
We
Like
could
when I
do that.
come to Richmond, that's the other exciting thing that we should tell. We have started sending out emails to wineries to do in-person live shows. Within an hour, we got our first response. Oh, hello. I just had to stop what I was saying. Um, I oh, Papa Bruckheim. Oh, Papa Bruckheim.
You can clip that.
I mean, he is hot. But now Mama Bruckheim is gonna like at me. And your brother's hot too.
Oh, my brother's the good-looking one of the bunch.
Oh,
Yes,
he's
Mr. 6'4" military built. Yes.
I mean, can I do this? Okay. Anyway,
You might have
But-
to. I don't know.
but now I totally lost the freak where I was.
Lost the plot.
But yes, we could record it. Oh, the live shows. So if you know of any wineries in your areas that you want us to add to our list, so the team, we're sending out emails, we're sending them, we give them a couple of options. They can either sponsor us for a month or we can do in-person live shows. Because the whole point of 2025 is we want to get out and meet you guys face to face.
And listen, this is not. There is nobody I would rather be working with than Terry when it comes to this, because there is nobody who is more motivated and positive and confident than Terry. Everything that I am lacking, Terry has, and I am so glad she does. And so when we say we want this media channel to explode, we are not kidding. It is not a joke. We are pushing for this. And not only, and I say we, and I mean a very, very large collective we, because I have never met such dedicated, hardworking, talented, and people willing to put hours upon hours upon hours on the line than our staff has. And
We couldn't do it without them. We would have
It's not possible.
never made it to the 1,000 subscribers without them. Yes, I just put it in. Please email us those. And breweries or wineries is great.
Yes.
And if you have a personal connection there, that's even better. I mean, if I need to, I can pick up the phone and make a phone call.
We say wineries, any place that you think that our show or truly any of the shows on this channel would be good at, like playing,
Yes.
that we will
Yes.
take it we won't necessarily right away reach out, but that does not mean
Right.
that we will not reach out. And if you do have, like Terry said, connections, that is fantastic, and we would love to
Yes.
be able to be there. We're
And the
still
good
working that
news
out,
is
but
JT has the stage experience. So, that works because oh, absolutely, hot doggeries work. And you know
I'm all
what?
about meat.
And I'm also gonna say that I so wish we lived closer, because one of the things I want to do after we get a couple of these live shows under our belt is I want to start doing where we raise money for different
Yes.
charities that
Yes.
we and dogs and cats are gonna be part of that, and goats.
Yes.
Just gonna say that. And the other thing that I do not have JT or Llama's approval on, and I am just gonna make the executive decision because I decided that I was
Mhm.
gonna do it,
Mhm.
that I will also want to plan a TCWT meetup that is just for you guys to come and meet with us. And no, we are not going to be like another podcast who charges you $800 to come and do that. Plus, you have to pay for your hotel. Not going to do that. I want us to get to where we can get me and JT, Llama, Rudy in the same place. You guys pay for your hotel and let's all just hang out. I want to get to know you guys more. And I want to be able to invite like Chase's family, Troy's family, all these families from Midday Missing to come as well, because I feel like they're our family too. So it's not just about doing shows. I want to have what I want to call a family reunion. It's going to be the Pink family
This
reunion.
this is if I was ever, and if you would have told me 3 or 4 years ago I would be doing this, I would have laughed. I would have said it's cool, but yeah, no. There's no possibility. It's not possible. This is why I do this. I do this. Number one, sure. But personally, it scratches the bug that I have to perform. But
I don't have
performance
that bug.
is oh yeah. Well, listen, performance is worth nothing if you do not have and it's not an audience. You all are a community. If you
Hmm.
do not have a
I'm not.
community to share it with, it's worth nothing. And so I have always, and for those of you who have known me for at least the past year and a half, I have always worked to build a positive community, one that has each other's backs, one that doesn't backstab, one that doesn't talk about, one that those
That's why we're
things
here
are so
together and we're not
yes,
with others.
correct. And that is very important to me. And I know that as the channel gets bigger, some of those people will make themselves known.
Hmm.
And but we have a strong culture right now, and that culture will weed out those people.
Hmm.
And that has always been my goal, because this world of podcasting and live streaming and social media and stuff is so toxic. And
Uh,
I don't I do not pretend, or I don't I don't put myself forward to be above it all, or think that we are invincible, because we're not to that kind of stuff. We've seen it with some of the trolls that have showed up. But where we prove our worth in that is with you all and how you respond to it, which is really by not responding to it, because it's
right.
not worth it. The attention, not worth it. Um, and so for me, building this channel is really building this community.
Hmm.
I
It
mean, you
is.
all are my diamonds.
You are.
So
But I will say, if you are a sheep in a diamond cloth, I have no problem cutting you out. I do not have the tolerance for that fake shift. I don't. I know that's a little, blunt, but I don't. And like I was telling a mom that I talked to for somebody who's coming on midday missing, she goes, "Why do you do this?" I said, "Because I care." Double H will tell you my heart is so big that it gets me in trouble, but I care. And I shine on bitches. That we need to put on merch.
We'll add it.
Did you? Yeah,
Yep, I'll
that's
do it right
another
now.
thing. We will be announcing
I
stuff about
started working on
merch.
that today.
Yes. So we have that. So we have a lot of good things that are going to come on that December 16th show. And there was something else I needed to tell you guys. Oh,
There's so many
just to
things.
let everybody know, Monday's midday missing will not happen. We were supposed to have Troy Galloway's mom on. I, however, have jury duty, which I am so freaking excited about.
Which will
So
indeed create its own episode.
it's a civil case. There's no
Still,
murder.
could
it's
be
just
fun.
civil.
Sometimes those are the
But
best.
so we have canceled Monday midday missing. Tentatively, we're going to do it on Thursday unless I get chosen and at last. But just everybody mark your calendars for December 16th.
Thank you for letting it through.
I missed that.
Bell's allowed the comment of shine on to come
Oh,
through
okay.
because
See,
YouTube wanted to say, hey, is this cool? Nicely done.
yeah, just so everybody knows, I don't get too much into the mod space because that's one thing I love about JT and I. We each know what we're good at, what we're not good at, and then we have areas that neither one of us are great at, and that's where we look for other people. And we don't play in each other's sandboxes. We keep each other informed, and I trust JT 100%. I don't worry about mods. So all these mod commands and stuff, I'm like, it just happens. It is JT magic in my world.
Speaking of that magic, if you are watching this now, or if you are watching this as part of the replay crew, and you are interested in becoming a part of the team, know this: we cannot pay you right now. Not now. But if you have a talent for writing, for researching, for social media, for editing, anything at all, just reach out to us. Even if you don't have those things that I just mentioned,
and you want to learn.
We are in the business of encouraging and motivating and empowering you to do something you absolutely love, to help out. And so just reach out to us in any way possible, social media, email, whatever it is. Because I would love to talk to you about it.
For the future, our goal for the future, the reason we started TCWT Media and the partnership and the company, we want to make it a company. And that's why we're bringing on new shows, new creators, because we know y'all don't want to see our faces all the time. We know you love us, but you don't want to see us all the. Oh, hello, Kelly. I love that you can help create merch. I want a shirt that says Sparkle Puss. And it
Kelly,
must be pink and it must be glittery.
I will hopefully remember to have somebody reach out to you or shoot me a DM. Either way.
Slide into his DMs. But the whole point is we want to have a company. We want to get where we can financially give money to the people who helped us get there. Because let me tell you, JT and I did not hit 1,048 subscribers by ourselves. It wasn't me and JT. And it is not because either one of us is cute. JT's funny. I'm sarcastic. We drink wine. And when we're in Denver, I take gummies and I make a total ass out of myself. Or I sing a song that's not been practiced and I wear my cute little pink cowboy hat. We are not what is making this.
This
Uh,
this
oh, wait a minute. Vajazzled? No, it was Sparkle Puss and Rimpuss.
not part of the 1,000 sub party. We might
But
be the
it's all
faces
about
on.
you guys.
Yeah, we might
We
be the
want
faces on the screen,
exactly.
but we are not the power behind the channel.
We are not.
And I am perfectly
Hello, we were
comfortable.
doing this for 3 years before now, and we didn't get so far.
And
I mean, we didn't get
and
bad, but
it drives me nuts when people who are on screen do not recognize the people off screen. It drives me
Yeah.
crazy when people on screen refuse to admit that it's not just them. It just drives me crazy.
okay, guys, I just popped this up
Discord link
because
says it's invalid. Hold on.
if y'all do not know this, Terry is a Discord nightmare, but I'm trying. Oh, Sammy, I used to listen to that song every night when I went to bed, like a rhinestone cowboy. That
Yeah. Try
yeah.
that one.
I hear
There you go.
Double H talking in the background. I don't know how. See, I can't even turn this, make that thing go away. But
That should
never.
work.
And I will tell you that I have reached out to some of my old recruiting team in the Philippines and asked them to come and join the Discord and asked them to maybe help us with some of the stuff. They are amazing. And like I've always told them, the only reason I ever became successful and moved up from being a manager to a director is because of them. It wasn't me. It was their talent.
This God, we gotta end this soon.
I
But
know
this is
I'm
why
like
Terry and I
going.
work really well together, because we empower and we respect the people that are there helping us out. That is everything, and it's so important. I
Mhm.
cannot tell you enough how important that is. It's just the minute that you stop paying attention to the people who have helped you get you to where you are is the minute in which everything falls apart.
That's when you become irrelevant, in my opinion.
Agreed. 100% agreed. And I want you to know that if you are interested in becoming a part of the team, we are
Yes,
very
yes.
much about empowering you, and we are very much about appreciating you. And I hope that our team feels that. And if you don't, please come to me and let
Please.
me know, because I will fix it.
I mean, and that's the thing I want to tell you guys. And I tell my teams in my day life that when I have my meetings with them, I give them the form and they're like, what is this? I ask them, tell me what you like that I do, what you don't like that I do, and what do you wish I did more of? Because guess what? I'm not having a meeting to tell you what you did wrong. I need you to tell me what I need to do to be better for you. I have employees that I worked with many, many years ago that I still keep in touch with, and they are some of my best friends. And that is what is most important to me. We just all happen to like true crime, some of us more than others, and we like the dark shit. We do. And if you like the color pink, it's even better. It's even better. And JT, our next thing, when we hit 2,000 subscribers,
Yes.
I want to have maybe just an episode. We won't do it at a party. I want to dress you in all pink,
Okay. Sounds good.
head to toe.
I mean, I'm up for it. So, I mean, make it spandex.
Make it spandex. Okay, I was thinking body paint, latex paint, pink.
Oh, body paint. Well, it better be warm in the room. I have some demands. So,
Of course you do.
you know what? On that note, on the
I was gonna say
note
that
of,
is a perfect place to end. Now, real quick, now we just need to get Rudy to agree to let us do that to him, the two of us.
That will never happen. Oh my gosh. Y'all, listen.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for being here. It's 3.5 hours. Good God, it's like an old episode that we used to have.
We told, just making sure we did this. We covered Javier. We covered the end of the year. We have another interview. I can't remember. We have another interview coming up. I think it's in January. I think it got moved to January.
We'll post it on the community page.
See, we need social media help. We need social media help.
Yep.
So if anybody loves social media, we would love for you guys to help with that. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, as I typically say, take care of yourself, your friends, your family, and your community now more than ever. Don't let anybody dull your sparkle. And shine on, you crazy diamonds. Shine on.
And as always, I'm the dark one. Stay safe. Watch out for crime because it's everywhere around you. And be a wino. Enjoy your wine time.
Bye, everybody. We will see you.
Bye, guys.
I'll see you on Sunday at 8 o'clock for Night Court. Bye, everybody.